Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Katz. Mayor Dunleavy.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by resolution number 265-2021, sending a copy to the newspapers officially designated for 2022 by way of resolution number 4-2022, filing a copy in the Township Clerk's office and posting it on the municipal building bulletin board, and the mayor hereby directs that this statement be included in the minutes.
Thank you very much, Doug. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Tonight, Township Administration present at tonight's meeting are Dean Kaczynski, our Township Manager, Doug Roussillon, our Township Clerk, Kristen DeNorcia, our Deputy Township Clerk, Thomas Rowe, Deputy Township Manager, Luis DePaz, Manager's Assistant, Ron Goodman, Volunteer Cablecaster, Clarence Barnes, Municipal Building Maintenance, and from the Law Office of Isabel Siddiqui and Shadanian, Trank Isabel Siddiqui and Shadanian, John Shadanian. Upcoming events. For the public information, we are currently holding a hybrid format meeting. We have people in person and on Zoom. If our Wi-Fi at the municipal building has an issue where the Zoom meeting drops, we will aim to retrieve the connection and restart the meeting. If we are unable to continue the Zoom portion of the meeting, this council meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. If attending this meeting in chambers, the CDC in New Jersey is recommending individuals wear face coverings indoors and in public spaces if possible, and try to social distance. The next televised council meeting will take place on Tuesday, January 10th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. The public portion will begin at 8 p.m. The council reorganization meeting will take place in person and on Zoom at the Rhoda Center Gym, Gym 2, number 2, at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, January 3rd. Municipal offices will be closed on Monday, December 26th, in observance of Christmas, and on Monday, January 2nd, in observance of New Year's Day. I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for Bob McGrath, longtime Teaneck resident and beloved member of Sesame Street for over 50 years, who passed away on December 4th. Thank you. I also want to have a moment of silence for Ms. Beverly Beard, who worked for many, many years here in social services here in the township, who unfortunately just very recently passed away. Thank you. Council met in closed session to discuss the following: COVID update, DPW project reorganization, ethics board, legal issues and or opinions regarding any items on open session agenda, litigation updates, and Oprah. And I also would like to recognize Mr. Leo Wilcox, who is the former health officer for Teaneck and a former councilman. Welcome, sir. Okay.
And former councilman.
Clearly, you were a councilman.
I said that reluctantly.
All right. Moving on to presentations. Sponsorship of OT exercise area by Nu Beta Beta chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Come on.
So sure, we'll have you, Mr. Timothy, to come right on up here. We have a really wonderful plaque and are excited to present to you the Township of Teaneck Adopt a Park program sponsored by Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Chapter Nu Beta Beta Fraternity, and this is dedicated on 2023. So I want to say thank you to Mr. Timothy, the president, the bachelors of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, and to all the brothers who wanted to adopt the equipment area of OT Park. I'm surprised that Mr. Norris Brown is not here because he was a staunch advocate, Dean, right, bugging you quite often to make sure when the new location was going to come into place. So I know that you as brothers are in that park encouraging physical and mental health. So we thank you that you're taking this on as a commitment to make sure that it is maintained and make sure, I'm sure that you'll be teaching you some young folks how to use that equipment appropriately. So on behalf of the Township of Teaneck, we really appreciate you taking on this project. Thank you so much. Sure. I also just want to say too, this is also a proclamation that says the Township of Teaneck adopt a park program presented to the Nu Beta Beta chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated in appreciation for participation in a program that furthers the use, enjoyment, and care of the OT Park exercise area. And I know that this was a process working with our Superintendent of Recreation, Glenna Crockett, along with our Township Manager. So we really appreciate you taking on this endeavor.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, City Council, we the brothers of Nu. Thank you. We the brothers of Nu Beta Beta would like to say thank you. And our job, our focus is service, servicing the community servicing Bergen County. One thing I would like just to explain what we're about. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated is the first Black HBC, is the first Black fraternity on a HBCU campus, being Howard University, which started Friday night, November 17th, 1911, which has been around for 111 years. We, the brothers of Nu Beta Beta chapter, just celebrated 40 years in Bergen County, celebrating, which we started in Teaneck, New Jersey, August 8th, 1982. Our main focus, like I said, is giving back to the community, servicing the community, and our one thing we believe in is manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. We're all about service. The main thing we want to do is health and wellness, which is based within the organization, and this is why we want to do what we're doing to adapt the park over by the gym. So we thank you. But before I sit down, I would love for the brothers to stand of Nu Beta Beta chapter that's here right now, please. Thank you, brothers. And thank you, Council, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Before we get into the cannabis presentation, I know it's going to be a rather long meeting, but we have a couple presentations for you, Councilman Kaplan and Council Member Javon Romney Rice. So I want to take care of them now so we can move forward with the meeting. And I have, let me get my bag, Doug. Hang on one second. Bag.
Santa Claus has come to town.
Yes, yeah, so
Everyone's waiting for the man with the bag.
as long as this isn't a roast.
Now, earlier this evening, we had representatives from Congressman Gottheimer's office, and they presented the mayor, Councilman Kaplan, Councilwoman Rice, with flags that were flown over the Capitol, and also resolutions from the congressman's office. Just quickly, for me, you know, this is bittersweet, and Mayor, you know this, Javon and Keith, you guys have not only been my colleagues, but my good friends. So a bittersweet situation for me. Hate to see you go. You're going to be missed by me. I appreciate your friendship, your advice to me. You've helped me out along the way, and I appreciate that very much. I will never forget it. Sorry to see you go. Wish you were staying longer, but I wish all the three new council elects the best of luck, big shoes to fill. And that being said, Doug, do we have? These are for Javon, a little token of our appreciation. We also have proclamations from Senator Johnson's office for Javon, Jim, and Keith as well. It's fairly lengthy, has a lot of information about you, so we'll present you with those. And also what we did, and I want to kind of start a new tradition here for retiring council members. Again, this is also a little token of our appreciation. These are actually beautiful watches for each of you. And on the back, it has the township seal. Also has your name, dates of service, and whenever you wear it, I hope that you remember us. So just a little token of our appreciation. And again, from the bottom of my heart, I thank all three of you. You were a class act. Again, we may not have agreed on everything, but that's the way it is. That's why it's a democracy. So thank you for everything. And I'll let Doug or someone else make a few comments. This one is. Got it.
Council members Kaplan, Dunleavy, Romney, Rice, you are part of the sitting body that brought me into this township and put me into this position. And growing with this township, growing with all of you individually, especially the three of you, has been one of the most enriching experiences of my life. Although we won't be calling each other maybe as much as we typically have, you guys still have my number, and I hope to hear from you frequently. It will not be the same without you guys, but I know that you're not far. If I need you, I have your numbers, and I do know where you live. So thank you for your service. It's been such a pleasure working with you all.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you.
Really cool watches.
Okay.
Keeps on slipping.
Mike, any comments?
Let's see, I prepared some really nice things to say about all three of you later in the meeting. But I just want to thank each and every single one of you because I've learned so much from all three of you these past 2 years. For example, Mr. Mayor, from you, I learned a lot about patience and understanding. Javon, I learned a lot from you about what questions to ask and how to pursue varying opinions. And Keith, I learned a lot from you about how to dive into the policy of ordinances and resolutions. And not only am I grateful for your service and everything, but the township is grateful for you guys because you've been working very hard for many years and you've been very dedicated to this town and you've done so much to help this town over the years. And we're always going to remember you. We're always going to be inspired by you. And please don't ever hesitate to call if there's ever anything I can do for either of you, whether it's personally or professionally, because I really treasured this time with you serving. And like Dean said, this is very bittersweet and we didn't always agree on everything, but we always found a way to get through whatever we were working on together to find solutions for the residents. So thank you all so very much for your service. And I look forward to having some cake with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't usually write notes to speak, but I didn't want to forget anything today. And we kind of knew there was going to be a surprise. So to Javon, thank you for all of your years of service to TNAC in many different capacities. I know this is the most recent. I'm sure this is not the last. There have been many times when I have been so appreciative of having another mother on council to work with on the things that are important to us. I hope that you have many vacations with friends and family planned and in your newly acquired free time. So thank you. Keith, I'm grateful for all that you taught me about process and as much as I made fun about TNEC's history. Thank you for sitting with me and reading through TNEC's entire code. I will miss leaning over to you during meetings to get the answers to any random question I may have had. You're second to none in your attention to detail, reviewing agendas and ordinances and resolutions. You have always been available to residents with a problem, helping them, fighting for them, and sometimes even pushing to change the law for them when it didn't make sense. I know that you will continue to always be available to help. Jim, my only mayor, I wish residents could know the extent of what you did. Sorry. The extent of what you did behind the scenes. We have all benefited from your diplomacy, your leadership, and kindness, and for your ability to push aside the noise to get things done. I thank you for your guidance and for reaching out to me after most meetings, especially the rough ones, just to see how I was. As I may have mentioned to you 5 or 10 times in the last few months, as Dorothy said to the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz, I will miss you most of all.
Thank you.
I'm not going to cry. Sorry.
Well, that moment's over.
Yeah, yes. So, it was definitely a pleasure serving with everyone who is departing, and I will miss you. You have my phone numbers. You also have Karen's phone number, so call her. A few more serious comments. Javon, you started your term on the council, or part of your term, talking about stigma-free, and then the world changed a lot, and you taught us DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. It's been a common saying of yours, something that you've not, of course, lived by example, but strive to make sure we as a council live by an example. And you brought those words to everything that we do, teaching some of us who may not see it, who may not have experienced it, how to understand those words and how to apply those words, whether it be to affordable housing or any housing, to zoning, to everything I like to do, and to teach me that the DEI components exist in every aspect of our lives. So I think that will be one of, if not your most important mark on this council, not of course just now where that movement's beginning, but in many years to come. So to comment on Karen's vacation comment, we know you've had some very good vacations that we enjoy and we're jealous of, and I hope that you have the ability to make us jealous many more times in the future as you enjoy your so well-deserved time away. Keith, let me see if I can say this in under 30 minutes. Keith does a lot behind the scenes. We all see what he does here, which is when he goes over his 3 minutes, but Keith does the work. It was Councilman Kaplan does the work that no one wants to do, no one has the ability to do, the work that you don't see in the day-to-day until you need it in the day-to-day. The updating the code. When we first sat down with Councilman Kaplan and Councilwoman Organ to review the code, and the changes were something like 277 pages, I debated calling in sick. And you had it handled, and you've had it handled. We're going to miss that resource. Keith's the person that instead of Googling, you just ask. So now we may have to go back to Googling things again. And it's something that we know you will be, we know you'll still be here. We also know that you live around the corner from me. So we'll have many more conversations daily and hopefully daily and as we proceed. So with that, we will miss you. And I wish, I thank Stacy and your girls for lending you to us for those many years. I know that she needs you at home, because the day you come home, she's out for a few weeks. So she awaits you. Mr. Mayor, 2020 seemed to start off very normal. And then the world just went all over the place. And then we had our elections, and I debated, do I want to be mayor? And we talked about who could be mayor. And then if you look up what a mayor can look at, the father figure, what a father figure you can rely on to guide you through some crazy times. Without the mask, this is actually literally what it looks like. But the question was, the question is, I look up to you as a father. You look like my father. And I say that as a compliment. But more importantly, and I say that because the maturity only comes through your years of experience in your medical field, in being in TNEC, in the sports, and all your involvement. And it was something that I knew that can guide us when I said we think Jim Dunleavy would be a great mayor. And then we said, let's see how the first year could go. We'll talk about it in a year. We actually didn't talk about it at the end of the year because you were doing an incredible job and a job no one else wanted to do. But with that, I truly appreciate everything you're guiding us through as that father figures. And I'm sorry and I'm not trying to make you feel old. I say that as the utmost respect. What it's brought, how it helps shepherd the town through some really, really crazy few years. And the lights at the end of the I think the lights at the end of the tunnel, and it's only through your guidance and your help and your in your leading us that it's like that. So thank you very much, and we will definitely miss you. I will see you every time I take a turn onto our block. So I look forward to continue living on the same street as you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And
Right,
like
so-
Councilwoman Gahn said, we do have some cake. I don't trust myself up to lift it up and show you all, but please help yourself to a slice outside. I do not think we want to stop business.
No, I'll let the mayor speak.
Oh, we want to do the speaking now? You want us to do it? Do you want to speak now? Or you want to speak later? Speaking now?
Speaking later.
Speaking later? You're good with later? Okay, all right, let's move forward with the business. We can, if somebody can cut us a couple of pieces, we can do it that way. Okay? All right, and please, everybody, I'm not taking this home. Okay. All right, next on the agenda, municipal approval for conditional cannabis licensure. Come on. Turn it, you turn and face us.
I don't like to give my back to anybody. so
No,
it's
no,
tough.
yeah, you're gonna face us. You're gonna face us.
Well, in court, usually we have a jury and a judge, and then that's about it. We are, I'm dealing with more people. Good evening, Mayor, councilwomen and men. Sure. Members of the audience, my name is Ciro Maderos. I'm an attorney. I represent two LLCs that are from New Jersey. They have been given conditional licenses by the state to operate cannabis business. One of the LLCs has a manufacturing and a cultivation license. The other one has a retail license. The conditional licenses are given by the state, and they're called micro business. They allow the entities to operate only 2,500 square feet for the first 2 years. And in addition, in addition to the entities being micro businesses, they are social equity business. These are businesses that are owned by minority. Now, I want to emphasize this because when the legislation passed the cannabis legislation, they intended this to be something that could be used by minorities to engage rather, in a new business. Unfortunately, to date, there are about 400 licenses have been approved by the state cannabis commission, but only about 20 are operating. And most of those are operating by what they call multi-state operators that are big companies, most of which are publicly traded. My clients are not. My clients are grassroots businesses that are trying to start a business, and we're very excited about finding a district in Teaneck that had been zoned for the use that they intend to use. They have gone out, which wasn't easy because there's not a lot of real estate in that particular area. But they did find and did enter into an agreement with the owner. Maybe I could just.
Yeah, you need to face us.
Use the podium,
Yeah, stand behind the podium and speak to us.
just face forward.
Um,
Into the mic.
I need you in the microphone.
Okay, no problem. Anyway, as I was saying, we have entered into a agreement with the owner of a building on Alfred Avenue, which is the area designated by the city council as the cannabis overlay. The only condition for us to enter into this agreement is having, number one, a resolution from you in support. So we can then go to the state and say, we have obtained site control. We have obtained the support from the municipality. And then we go to the state and the state will impose their requirements. This is not an easy a rubber stamp procedure. That this will be a lengthy process in which we have to prove that the financing is there, that the knowledge is there, that the experience is there.
Sir, so the presentation is really to tell us a little bit about the business that you have planned. We're aware of the state regulations and the location. If you could just tell us what the business will be.
I thought it was for the benefit of the public to just
We've-
get a
we've
little
done
bit of,
this.
but the business will occupy, as I said, we have 3 micro licenses. We cannot occupy more than 7,500 square feet. That would be 2,500 square feet per business. Our lease allows for that. The lease entails us doing incredible amount of work to the site. It's right now a warehouse. We have to make it fit our needs, plumbing, electricity. So the manufacturing would be 2,500 square feet where we would grow cannabis plants. The manufacturing would be 2,500 square feet where we would have a press that extracts oil from the branches that are left over after harvest and are used to make different products with the CBD oil and the THC oils. And then the last one will be a retail, which will, again, will be only 2,500 square feet. That would allow us to sell retail to the public. And we are asking to please support us in being able to take this very important step so that we can continue this long process of going forward to the state. But we can't do it without resolution or support from the town. So we are here ready to answer whatever questions, but we feel that we meet all of the requirements that the city council has in the past looked at and decided what was necessary in order to have this overlay district. Again, it's not a very large a parcel that it's been designated for cannabis, and that's been one of the biggest obstacles, finding a location. And we were lucky, we found one. A lot of negotiations went on with the landlord, and we got to the point that we have a deal, but we need, is conditioned upon getting first city support, secondly, state licensing.
And to be clear, the way our ordinance is structured, there would be a separate tax if implemented for the growing, manufacturing, and or retail if either one of the 3 are enacted, right?
That is correct also, sure. And again, we want to be part of the community. I myself lived in Teaneck up until last year when I moved to the far end of Ridgefield Park. So my kids went to school, products of the Teaneck school system, graduated Teaneck High School. My wife currently teaches at the charter school. We want to be part of the community. We didn't come from somewhere else and want to just use the town's assets. We want to be part of this. My kids play Teaneck Southern. We want to give back. We want to be able to.
And to that end, I mean, obviously, cannabis as a concept is fairly new to the Garden State. For people that are unsure how it's going to play out, are you amenable to doing public hearing sessions with the community to explain what would be, if anything is approved? I'm not predicting the future here on what council's decision is, but should that move forward, you're amenable to working with the community and speaking to the issues that they might have.
Absolutely. That's part of every responsible cannabis business, having, public outreach, educating the public, letting them know that just because cannabis is legal doesn't mean you can consume it and drive. So it starts by engaging with Board of Education, even younger. Members of the community will be employed by us as well. So
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Yeah, how many conditional licenses do you have?
3.
3, one for,
Manufacturing, the other one is cultivation and retail. But they will all have only 2,500 square feet per license.
So what is our next step? I'm sorry, what is our, and this is,
Well, before we go there, I know Councilman Rice had some questions. No, that's okay.
Mainly because I've always asked about a process so that each person that came before us would be following a similar process. We have had residents who have been a part of this community, growing up in this community, come to us first for the resolution of support, which was conditional upon them receiving their license. It seems like you've already gotten your conditional license prior to coming to the township. So, however, also, we usually have had a PowerPoint presentation. We have had community supports. We've had a format for a presentation, none of which seems to be here this evening. So I'm just really a question for you as well as for the committee. I was really looking for a process for how we do this. What conditions are we requiring? We asked for opportunities for what would be given back. I appreciate the fact that you were previously a resident and that your children were raised here, but I know that we have looked for people who had a real commitment to this community and demonstrated that. We've had presentations about their give backs and the employees. I don't see any of that here today. And I don't understand why we didn't have a resolution of support first to provide you before then going for your conditional.
Well,
I noticed that some
I'm
of the residents are from Patterson or Parsippany. What commitment is there to our community here in Teaneck?
Well, Councilwoman, we can certainly, if that's something that the council feels is missing, come back and give you a presentation. Quite honestly, since the council already had designated the area, I guess after lengthy discussions, and we have the conditional licenses and we have the site control, we felt that we had enough to present to the council compelling reasons to give us the resolution of support. But we're not opposite to opposed to the idea of coming back if that's what the council wanted and giving you more information.
And I guess my question is simply because we've had a number of people that had requests, and what would we base our selection process if we're not comparing apples to apples?
Well, I'll ask members of the subcommittee to.
Sure.
So just to very quickly answer Councilwoman Romney's question, because this was Ron Reyes's question. It's something that shocked me when I first saw somebody who got a conditional license without coming to us. The state rules are that you cannot operate in town without a approval from the municipality. They don't indicate on the state level, and that's beyond our reach, when you get that approval. So the process is you can apply for a conditional license, which was there's 2 paths you can take. You can take a path where you get the license initially, or you can apply for a conditional license first. It's a lesser lift, so to speak. You can get that conditional license, then get a municipal approval, then get a location. Once all your ducks are in a row, apply to convert that to a regular license where you can sell. You cannot sell, manufacture, do any actual tangible retail until you have that full license. All the conditional.
So I appreciate this, but why wasn't what you're stating in a packet for any resident who wanted to make that request? So what we would have would be a consistent application process. So then when we make the decision as to which company we want to use, we have all those criteria points that you just mentioned.
Sure.
So I'm just curious as to how this is now the chicken before the egg.
so originally, when everybody was waiting for their full licenses, this is how the state started. And we met with, I think, 1 or 2 people We gave it because we were hoping in that first round that Teaneck would get one of those full licenses. Since then, a few people came to us with conditional licenses. We still heard them. We gave them the letters that they needed, but the state changed after that first round of full licenses that were given out. And now it seems, I think they only gave 20. It seems like everyone else now was kind of given a conditional license, but they have to find a place to convert it to a full license. So it's a little bit of a different ballgame than it was at the beginning. So a bunch of the people that we're trying to work with now that are going to be at our forum, they have conditional licenses. They have an end time where they need to convert them by that time, or I think they expire, they lose them. And so we're looking at different areas of town for them to, that maybe we could rezone. That's why we're having a forum on January 26th that council member-elect Goldberg will be running. But in the meantime, we still have this cannabis overlay zone with this warehouse that is prime. You know, we've looked at the area before. It can be used for many different things, many different micro licenses. And it seems like whatever's going on with the owner, it's a good place for cannabis. That's why we chose it. And so.
But I thought we had some other people that were already interested in that location and that there were some
So it
conversations.
looks like there's one other person that we weren't aware of. But it seems like the landlord is changing his mind now. And that's between them.
And if I may, because I think I heard a nuance in your question, there is set criteria for what any applicant needs to do. It's put out by CREMA, which is the regulatory agency for cannabis that's at the state level, not the town level. As far as the municipal support, my view on this as a philosophical view on who we should give support to is anyone that's able to make a viable business in town that's not going to be a detriment to the township. I don't think, and this is just my opinion, everybody's, able to make their own checklist or whatnot. I just feel that we should not be picking winners and losers. That's what the market and regulatory structures are for at the state level. We have been told at the state we could basically have a veto on places that we feel would not be in the interest of the good and welfare of the township.
And that's exactly what I've been looking for, that we at least have that much say as to what we feel would be in the best interest of our community.
Yes, and that's what that.
So hopefully going in forward, that the new committee would set criteria and make sure that whoever they choose can demonstrate that this would be in the best interest of our community. We just had some sting operations that people are selling vapes to children, not even cannabis. They were just the flavored vapes. So I just want to make sure that we have all those regulatory things in place so that they can be controlled and that our children are safe.
So I'm just trying to understand what are we, could we please say, what are we looking to do tonight?
We
He has a lease for,
right.
I know
We
we have
have
sorry, if I can finish, please, because this was not made easy for us to understand, so I need to understand it now. On January 26th, there's going to be a forum. There's many other sites we're entertaining in town, Cedar Lane, parts of Cedar Lane, downtown, all over the place. We've met with some residents last night that wanted in central Cedar Lane, other residents that don't, and some down towards Hackensack. Tonight, there's a gentleman, if I understand correctly, he has a lease on Alfred Avenue. This is the first person that comes, he has the actual lease. So
I want to be transparent. We have a lease agreement that has not been executed because it's conditioned upon licensing.
okay, so,
But the terms of the lease have been fully negotiated.
okay, so if I understand correctly, no one has a lease on the site. In order for a lease to be signed, they need permission from the town. What you're saying is, will anyone who has a license, we'll give them our blessing. I think we've given blessings in the past.
The next step for us is we have a resolution in the packet. We can move it to the consent agenda and that would be voted on at the.
Have we done this before?
Yes.
So if I understand correctly, just so I can listen to her, Councilwoman Rice's questions, which I think I understand. We've done this before for other people with conditional licenses. We now will give this gentleman our blessing as well.
Yeah.
Then he can take it and then try to find a lease. That's what we're looking to do.
And
That's
convert to a full license.
Correct. And the other people who we've done this for have yet to, may still, but have yet to come back with a signed lease. Did I understand that?
And we're looking to change zoning somewhere. so
That's
that
on
it's
January
successful.
26th for more. So
Now, can I just ask, those people that have come to us, have they given the formal presentation that we where they've had statistics, where they've given a PowerPoint presentation, where we really fully felt like we vetted?
They
Weren't-
didn't have statistics. We were on Zoom when the first
Yeah.
three presented, so it was a little bit easier with a PowerPoint. Some had pictures of what a dispensary might look like. They discussed where they were from, what they might give back to the community. It wasn't a lot more information than what we're getting now. It was a little prettier.
I'm sorry, I fully disagree with you. We've had numerous presentations. I remember the presentations that were slides and slides and slides. We're talking about the same one, Dale's Gardens for one. There was a ton of slides and a ton of presentations. And that's what I'm just trying to understand this concept. So now this was his version of that. We're now going to give this gentleman our blessing like we gave them. And if someone comes back for a lease, then a signed lease, we then move forward and they move forward with their business. Did I
Right,
summarize that
but-
properly?
But statistics and money, we've never asked.
No, no,
for that.
I don't think it was statistics and forecasts for money, but it was just information about the community and their demonstration of an investment in the community. And again, I guess that's why I always asked for a process, so that this way each one is equitably vetted. I don't feel that based upon this presentation, what do I have to go on that I would bet to give him a conditional license?
Well, I would just.
I'm
mention,
sorry,
if-
the
if I can,
resolution of support.
I would just
the
say,
resolution of
this
support.
is an opportunity to ask him any of those questions that you might have so that you
I already
can.
asked my question.
I'm just saying, as
Okay.
far as the time.
All right. So,
Always about that equity. Sorry.
okay.
100%. And I feel comfortable now that I understood the questions you had, where this is this version of Deo's Gardens. In all due respect, Deo's Gardens made a great presentation. I guess they haven't come back to us. I like that firm. I hope they do get a lease, and I'm fine giving him that same opportunity for a lease as well. So I'm prepared to make a motion. I don't know what the process is, Mr. Clerk or Mr. Attorney. I don't know, but I have my answers. Sorry.
Okay, all right. So what is in order is whether or not the council wants to move this resolution to the consent calendar. Do I have any objection to moving it to the consent calendar? I need a motion to do that? Okay, all right. So do I have a motion? Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, second by Councilmember Pagan. Let's call a roll.
This is to add resolution number 317-2022 to. Wait. I just want to double check something with the numbers. Yes, it will be 317-2022. If we walk this in, we have a first from Deputy Mayor Schwartz, a second from Councilman Pagan. Councilman Rami Rice.
Based upon insufficient information to make a judgment and a decision, the answer is no.
Councilman Pagan. Yes. Councilman Organ.
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes.
Resolution number 317-2022 added to the consent agenda.
And just for the
Okay.
benefit of the public, Mr. Mayor,
Sure.
this is not the last meeting regarding the issue. Should they get licensure and whatnot, there's still site plan review and regulatory structures that we put in place by ordinance and everything else that they have to go through.
Absolutely. This is just at the very beginning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
All right, moving on, work session items. Miscellaneous. Old business. New business. Communications. Okay, I want to report on a communication, and we also received the communication with regards to a speaker who was, remember the Little Rock Nine?
I think that was pulled from the agenda, I think. You might be.
It was, I think it's could be under good and welfare if need be, but it was.
Under good and welfare?
Someone wants to bring it up. I don't know if there's.
Well, I mean, it was sent to Deputy Mayor Katz. Okay, and I spoke with him. He wanted to pull it.
They
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
be here.
He wanted to be here for the conversation.
Okay, so he wanted to be here for
It
the
can be discussed
conversation.
in a good and welfare, but he wanted to talk about it.
Very well.
council.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right, my suggestion, just a suggestion, when you do speak about it, talk about it, is to think about connecting to the library for Black History Month as a possible,
For sure.
speaker for them. Okay. All right.
Good and well. We'll talk about it.
The other correspondence I wanted to report was a correspondence I got from Arthur Usami, who's the president of the Darul Islam Mosque a couple of weeks ago. He sent a very late night email to me indicating his concern over activity at a Muslim community center down in Piscataway. He was very concerned about security, very concerned about his mosque. I passed it along directly to the manager, who then gave it to the chief of police. The next morning, the chief of police met with the president. He also asked me to put out a statement in support of the Muslim community, which I did. And then he asked me to speak with members of the mosque that Friday after Friday prayers, which I also did. So I know that there was a plan in place with Teaneck Police in terms of making sure that that area is secure and checked on. And I just wanted to make sure that the Muslim community knows that we've heard you, we listened to you, and that I was happy and I was honored to come and speak to you. And I hope that this does help allay any fears in the Muslim community. And then I've also asked them to be our eyes and ears to make sure that we're told if they see or hear anything, that they notify Teaneck Police and the manager right away. All right. Committee reports by council liaison, Social Service Advisory Board Annual Report. Okay, I don't think we have a liaison, do we? Do we have a liaison to them? No. I do know that they were talking about use of, I guess, the Hyatt funds in their report. And so there's a resolution here to do that. So I think we're answering the major portion of their report. Next on the agenda, Historical Preservation Commission map of historic locations and parks. I don't know who has, is that you?
Yeah, I'm
You
gonna let
go
them present later on, so we'll skip it.
Oh, they're going to present it later on? Very well. Okay, moving on, council listed items. AED machine access, Councilwoman Romney Rice.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, I have the Youth Advisory Board that is here this evening, and they would like to make a presentation to speak on behalf of the request about AEDs. So I'd like to call up some of our youth advisory and their advisors if they'd like, so that the students could make a presentation.
Great.
Don't be shy.
Come on up.
Sorry. Dear Mayor Dunleavy and City Council, my name is Olivia Vasquez and I am speaking to you today on behalf of the Youth Advisory Board in the hopes that our town council will support providing AEDs, automatic external defibrillators, to the Teaneck Southern Little Baseball and Softball League. During the spring and summer, I noticed that the baseball fields, including those on school property, were not equipped with AED units within reasonable proximity to the athletic field. After reading and learning about Janet's Law, which passed in 2012 and went into effect on September 1st, 2014, I thought that our field should be equipped accordingly. Janet's Law requires every district and school to have an AED available in an unlocked location on school property with an appropriate identifying sign. The AED must be accessible during the school day and any other time when a school-sponsored athletic event or team practice is taking place. In the spring of 2017, New York became the first U.S. city to pass the law to make defibrillators available to youth baseball teams and require defibrillators at games and practices. We are not certain if the Teaneck Southern Little League, a Prado Field, falls under the Janet's Law. We also stress the importance of providing AEDs to this great program in our community. It would be a valuable addition to the well-being and protection of the players and spectators. In fact, New Jersey State Senator James Beach introduced the Michael Fisher Law on March 3rd, 2022, that will require municipal departments that oversee youth-serving organizations, such as Little Leagues, to ensure that there is an AED available on site at each athletic event within the township. Having an AED close by can make all the difference, and there's a collection of stories out there from cardiac arrest victims that highlight the importance of having an AED close by. Research suggests that an AED within 3 to 5 minutes of a cardiac arrest can mean survival rates are as high as 50 to 70%. We are respectfully asking Mayor, Town Council, and Town Manager to provide Teaneck Southern Little League baseball and softball the protective medical equipment needed. We are recommending that if you agree and provide the equipment, it would be up to the agency, Teaneck Southern Little League Safety Officer, to establish an AED maintenance record and the required training. We hope that you see this as an investment to enhance our community as you move forward with the budget deliberations and its challenges. Please consider this request. Thank you.
Hi all, my name is Kasai Sanchez and I serve as chairperson of the Teaneck Youth Advisory Board. It was brought to our attention by a member of our board that the town fails to provide AEDs. Not only is it proven to be dangerous, but not having this device displays a lack of prudence and indicates the district failing to make suitable accommodations to protect the youth's health. Automatic external defibrillators are used to help those experiencing sudden cardiac arrest. AEDs are increasingly accessible, affordable, and easy to use. AED usage within the first 3 minutes of sudden cardiac arrest can increase one's survival rate by over 80%, and the steps are rather simple. Firstly, you must complete the check and call all steps. Then, as soon as an AED is available for usage, turn it on and follow the voice prompts. Next, you remove clothing and attach the pads correctly. Then you would plug in the pad connector and cable into the AED if necessary. And finally, you would prepare to let the AED analyze the heart's rhythms. Following these steps increases survival rate by 44%. And without an AED, the chance of survival decreases by 10% for each minute that passes without defibrillation. That being said, it is only ethical and moral that such accessible devices exist for our leagues and sports programs, as they can save lives.
All right, my name is Rain Crafton. So, an automated external defibrillator is an easy-to-use device intended to help those experiencing cardiac arrest. Their existence is justified by their use, by their ease, as they are intended for use by people without minimum training. One can easily understand why we are shocked to see that there are not many AEDs around locations where sporting events take place. For example, within schools, Janet's law clearly states that there should be at least one AED existing at an athletic event. Teaneck sporting events should follow the same notion. An AED could prove vital in saving the life of a person during an event, and not having one puts lives at risk.
Good evening. My name is Gabriel Beidelman. I do not want you all to listen to me as the vice chairman of the Teaneck Youth Advisory Board, but instead as a student athlete who has been growing up in the township of Teaneck. I not only hope that the town council will support providing automatic external defibrillators for the Teaneck Southern Little Leagues, but also support all AED regulations throughout all sports leagues in Teaneck. As a student athlete, I have witnessed a variety of significant injuries and situations where players have needed emergency medical assistance. I can attest to the fact that no one could be 100% prepared for every possible situation. However, if we can prepare coaches, athletes, and parents for an emergency by providing AEDs, it needs to be done. This past fall, I was a youth coach of a students under-9 soccer team for the Teaneck Junior Soccer League. Most games and practices were held at the Teaneck Sportsplex, where there is an AED present. On the other hand, games and practices were also held at other smaller fields in Teaneck. At some of these fields, AEDs are less accessible. I hope that there is something that can change in the near future. Thank you.
I would like to say firstly, thank you all to everyone being here today. By being in this room, we all show a sense of commitment to bettering our community. And as a community, despite the variance of opinion from household to household, we all share similar fundamental values, one of them being safety. An investment in an AED is an investment to further the safety of our community, a necessary step to save the potential life of somebody. I encourage you to view this through the lens of being the possible parent, friend, sister, or brother that you may be. I encourage you to tap into your empathy, as it could be someone you know or you yourself. Philosopher John Rawls presents this concept of using the veil of ignorance when looking at a situation, meaning that under this veil, you do not know whether or not you will be the person in our community to need an AED, but knowing that it's a possibility to need it, you would like the ability to have access to it. Having an AED means that people can attend our local sports games, knowing that there is yet another layer of security and protection for them and their children. Please consider this, not just the statistics and logistics on why the AEDs should be implemented at our local Little League fields, but also because it could be you or someone you know who may need it. We also respectfully ask the council to update us on our proposal and follow up with any further developments made.
Coach Ortiz was here in support of this initiative. He had to leave a little early. I don't know, Doug, if we can give you some comments to add to the official record at some point, you know, in the next few days. I don't think, are we all done? Is everybody? Okay. At this point, we would like to present Councilwoman Romney Rice with a little token of appreciation for all the work that she's done for the Youth Advisory Board over the years.
So I started Teaneck Youth Advisory Board when I was just in 8th grade, which has allowed me to become familiar with the world of political science. It gave me a glimpse into the world of service, of advocacy, and of government. I've worked alongside the most passionate, ambitious, and empathetic people during my time on Youth Advisory Board. People who I truly believe are the embodiment of love and service. And when I think of kindness and hard work and benevolence and compassion, I think of Councilwoman Rice, who has been instrumental supporter of not just Teaneck Youth Advisory Board, but several other boards who support unity and work to create change. She has constantly supported the goals and education of this community's youth and people, and her hard work does not go unnoticed. Councilwoman Rice, we send you the utmost love as the Teaneck Youth Advisory Board, and thank you for all your efforts and support. Thank you so much.
I just want to say really quickly that I was just so proud of you bringing up the idea of the AED that I was so quick to add it to the agenda. As soon as the kids mentioned it, I was like, yes, let's get it on the agenda, which was last week. And I know that you guys weren't all available, but this was so very touching what you gave me, but speaking so eloquently and passionately about changing your community means the world to me. And I'm so appreciative of you guys being here, being public speakers, expressing something that you're passionate and concerned about. And no matter what happens, continue to do so. Thank you so much. Now back to the AED.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So Jervon told me about this idea at our last meeting, and I reached out to the president of the ambulance corps to ask for instruction. The one thing he requested is that if we do get one for Teaneck Southern, that it's compatible with what we already have in the ambulances and in the police cars so that they can switch over very early. My only concern is that there's a location at Teaneck Southern to keep it safe, because these are expensive and it can't just be carried from place to place. So logistically, if somebody wants to present or we can come look a place where it can be locked up and who would have access to it, who would take control. Oh, okay, you've got an answer?
I don't really have an answer, but as Mr. G had explained, Coach Ortiz was here, was going to answer that exact, he had that exact
Okay, we can work that
answer.
out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be considered.
And then the ambulance corps offered training also, should people need, so.
Councilmember Pagan.
Thank you.
One
I'm
more
sorry.
thing.
Sorry,
I'm
Karen.
sorry. And I also just wanted to commend everyone on the Youth Advisory Board for the presentation. A great
Well done.
exercise in civics.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I've been coming to council meetings since I was 10 years old back in 1986, but I didn't speak at council meetings till I was in college. And I just want to say you all spoke so very well and so very eloquently, and you absolutely have my support on this, and you got my vote. So thank you so much for bringing this to our attention.
Excellent idea. I'll just to piggyback on that, and something I was thinking, unfortunately, places like Sagamore Park, which have quite a bit of soccer use, don't have an indoor capability, not just to store the AED, but of course to charge it and whatnot. So it's definitely something to think about. But one thing I'd love to charge I charge the Youth Advisory Board and to work with the high schools to get our high school students, and it's young as 15 and a half, to join the ambulance corps. Because it's great to advocate for AEDs, but it's no better feeling to use AEDs and to actually save someone. I had the opportunity to use an AED this past Sunday. So just keep that in mind of how we can start getting our youth. When I rode the ambulance, I've been riding for about 20 years. We used to have a lot more participants coming from the high school. There was actually a EMT program in the high school, and it's definitely something I love to see if we can get that back again. Thank you.
Councilman Kaplan?
I don't want to repeat, but I agree with what's been said. The only concern I had when Councilwoman Rice brought this up with me last week was, I had mentioned before I was on council to Deputy Mayor Schwartz, the AED seemed to disappear quite often when it was in the RADA Center. It's a sad state of affairs for these things. So if there's some way to put a tracker on these things, people are not likely to lift them. They're no good if they're not accessible. So you need to, give them to the ability of people to use, but just want to make sure that they're capable of being there and being there all the time. And I really want to thank the kids that spoke, especially, I'm not sure I was yet your age when I was quoting John Rawls, but, not sure if you've gotten to Kant yet, but it should be a categorical imperative that this council takes care of its youth. So thank you very much. You've done a great job, and look forward to seeing what you're doing in the future.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. We have, just so everyone knows, there's a defibrillator in every police car, fire truck, of course, ambulance. We have one at the Voti Park Sportsplex. We have several in this building. We have two in the Rota Center as well. Unfortunately, there was a time where both of them were stolen, but I do have the specs on what TVAC uses. They run close to $800, but I will work with the PPRAB as well, and to see if we can get a few of these before the end of the year and figure out a place and how we can secure them where the coaches can sign them out when they do have events. So we'll get that done. I don't see an issue picking up 3 or 4 additional AEDs for the fields.
Yeah, I've myself have had to personally get these at my medical center. I've gone out and purchased them. There are a lot of different models, different variations. Some are much more portable than others. The main thing is to have them periodically checked. You can't just put it on a shelf and then wait 6 or 7 months. I have to have my staff check the battery viability every single day. That's in a hospital environment. Obviously, it's different. You also, there are cases that you can lock up that would then have to be unlocked when obviously events occurred. And also, I think, Dean, your idea is a good one, where if we could have a central location for them, and we can make it perhaps part of the permit scheduling process, that they have one available. I would think too, for them to be comfortable with it, and it's really a very simple thing to use. Actually, it's almost self-explanatory. But to have TVAC get them to a comfort level, I think would be very, very good. And to get members of the various sports organizations, because if we do it for one, we do it for all. So whichever council-sponsored organizations we have, I think they should be the ones that, at least at this point, get these done. So I'm in full support. I mean, I see them. I see the work that they can do. I can see the lives that they save every day. So I commend you for bringing this to our attention. I think this is a tremendously good idea, and we're going to try and get this done somehow. So thank you. Thank you very much.
If I could just ask if the students could possibly continue to be involved in the process, because in listening to them on a few of their meetings, They really came up with a lot of great ideas. They talked about the fact that they're stolen, how they can be locked up. So I think that that would also be a lesson for them to be a part of this process and also to be able to take up Councilman Schwartz's idea of encouraging more students to be part of TVAC. I think that would be great. And then have some kind of commemoration where these students are awarded for their bringing this to the community's attention. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda, street renaming Bischoff's, Councilmember Rice.
So I did have some community members that came to me about this and we spoke with Dean, and I believe that Dean has some further information that he'd like to share.
So what we're trying to do is the latter end of next week, we're going to do a street renaming. We'll get Public Works to print out the street renaming signs. We have some proclamations in place already. I'm going to be ordering a banner that will fly across Cedar Lane, thanking Bischoff's for their 8+ decades of service to the Teaneck community. So we have a few things in place. I have to set the date, looking more like the latter end afternoon of next week from this coming Thursday. And we'll probably do something in that Chestnut Plaza area. So look for something coming out from my office that secures the date, the program, and we'll make sure that it's a nice event at Bischoff's.
Thank you, Dean, because I know the time is short and appreciate you pulling that together so quickly. And I know that the township is going to miss Bischoff's. And I hopefully, if you haven't been there yet, there are a lot of the folks that have been stopping in there and have taken orders. An institution to have survived over 90 years is something to a feat to be honored and acknowledged. And thank you for what you're going to do for them. Appreciate it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And my favorite is the chocolate chip in the sugar cone with chocolate sprinkles. That's my favorite. Next, reaffirm resolution 49, 2019, reject hate in the township of Teaneck. This is a resolution that I wrote back in 2019, and we have reaffirmed this position as a council every year since. I think it's important that we revisit the words in this resolution every year and make sure that people have an understanding of just what we are all about as a township. So unless there's any objection, I would like to move this to the consent calendar. All right, hearing none. What would that be, Doug, to
318?
318.
Was there a second on that, Mayor? I apologize.
I'll second.
Second. Yep. Okay. 318. All right.
And then there was no objection, right?
No objection. Proposed resolution for Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. Councilmember Kaplan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I noticed that we didn't have one last year on our agenda, so I just wanted to work. I have another meeting next week with Ms. Lacy on historic preservation. There's no objection to just working with her for language because we have some personal connections, so we can have a proclamation ready to go for the new council.
Hearing no objections. Okay, we'll go ahead. All right, thank you. Adoption of ordinance referendum question on ranked choice voting, Councilman Kaplan.
Which one? On ranked choice voting, yes.
Yes.
So as the public may be aware, several states, including New York, have moved to ranked choice voting. It's an option that gives the benefit for the public to be able to rank the people that they choose to vote for in order, instead of merely going into a voting booth and choosing one person. In case of president, let's say, you can rank the candidates the way that you want. And the way it works, there's some videos online to show you. They tally all the votes, the machines tally them up. Whoever the last choice is drops out. And your second choice, if that was your first choice, will then be included and tally the votes. It tends to move away from extremes on the left and extremes on the right. And it tends to be able to allow the center to come out a bit more. Hoboken passed a resolution and an ordinance that would approve it. It would only go into effect if the state of New Jersey allows it. There is nothing that would let Teaneck do this now. I just wanted to bring it up because it would be of benefit for the general public. It moves away from extremes and lets the center get a larger voice. So I just wanted to put it out there for the benefit of council. If anyone is interested in supporting an ordinance, I would certainly be in favor of speaking to it from whatever capacity I'm in when that comes up.
Councilmember Pagan?
Question, Councilman. I meant to ask you this when I saw it placed on the agenda, and you actually just answered the question, but procedurally, might you know a little bit more about what the county and or the state have to do to approve this, to make this happen? Because I know it is gaining in popularity across the country, but it's also might cost a little bit more money. So I was just wondering procedurally if your research has come across anything along that.
So because the county has moved to electronic voting machines, there shouldn't, this would not be possible with our, push button standard voting machines that were in place this election day. But when the electronic machines are in and you have the capability of ranking your choices, and bear in mind, nobody would have to, you can still just pick one person for each position and be done. But it would be able to enable the public that wants to utilize it if the state allows it and the county has the machines that permit it. Should all that be in place, it's just merely an issue of oversight. There shouldn't be any, as far as I understand, reason for excess cost to the municipality.
My only question was, I believe New York City did this.
Yeah.
And they didn't seem to have too much of a problem with it, as I recall. I didn't read anything to the contrary.
Yeah, the first time it went into effect was 2021. The way it's been received and shown, some people say it's great, some people say they have problems, which makes me think it's working about as appropriately as everything else they've done. But no one seems to think that it's convoluted or anything. Generally speaking, it brings people away from extremes and towards the center. If that's where you were to begin with, you shouldn't see much of a difference at all.
Okay. Does anybody have an objection to having the next council move forward and consider this? No? Okay, hearing none. You guys are gonna have to take care of that. Okay. Increase the council stipend. Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When the council stipend was created, the initial purpose was to enable people to do this job. And it's important to realize that there's a lot of time commitment that goes into what we do. The first time I saw them seriously talk about increasing it, it did not happen, was in 1962. Then the council stipend was $1,000. $1,000 in 1962 was worth about $9,857 today, just considering inflation. They wanted to raise it to $1,500, which would be the equivalent of $14,786 today. If you want to do the bare minimum and show up to this job, you could. There's nothing that's stopping you. But the people that sit on this dais put in far more than the bare minimum. And the council stipend was originally meant to allow people that might not otherwise be able to do so to run for council. People that could not afford to give up hours from their jobs, could not afford to give up the hours to make money that they need in order to survive, to be able to put their talents forward for the betterment of neighbors. Now, when the price is set too low, it's a nice benefit for people that are able to sit up here. When the price is not appropriate, it doesn't serve its purpose. I understand that, there's never a good time for people up here to say that they want more money in terms from a PR perspective. But if you want the council stipend to be able to serve the purpose that it was originally meant to serve, it should have meaning and effect to the point that it allows somebody who is, making the average amount of a Teaneck resident to take the amount of time off of work to be able to do this job and to do it well in the way that people expect them to do. It's been brought up before. It was brought up before I was on council. Mr. Sohn, when he was on council, spoke in favor of it. I'm speaking in favor of it. And I seriously would hope that the next council, even if they say, you know, only for people elected in the next election, consider raising it to a point that it enables people that otherwise could not even think about doing the job to be able to volunteer.
I'm in full agreement with this. I know previous to our little pandemic interruption, I had reached out to the League of Municipalities to get as much data as they could get on salaries from different towns, and the stuff that I got through 2019. And again, these are voluntary submissions to the league when they request this information. We're probably at the middle or a little lower. What does strike me, and although I'm coming off council and coming out of the chair as mayor, it's not necessarily self-serving here, but 17 out of 20 of the towns, the mayor's money is higher than the council's money. Just so you know that. So for future mayors, obviously, unless of course you want to do a retro. I mean, I'll have you vote for a retro. But the other thing to consider is the cost to the resident. And I took some of the numbers at that time, and we are actually ranked in terms of cost to resident 18th, I think, out of the 20 or 19 or 20 towns that are on this. So in terms of the cost per resident, it's minuscule. But my advice to the future council, if they're going to consider this, and I think you should, is to start with getting some data, maybe from, updated data from the league. That's one place you can get it. Obviously, we can do our own salary survey, but that seemed to be a good place to go. So I think it's worth exploring. So.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to be against it, not because anything you said was wrong. And I apologize, I only speak from my behalf. I actually donate my stipend back to various local organizations. If I were going to get paid, you're going to be raising taxes to pay my regular rate. I believe serving the town is an honor. Any increase you could come up with will not make a difference to, now I'm being paid for my time. And I say that for everyone. So I just don't think it's the right environment. If you do want to talk about what the cost per resident is, a starting police officer start salary right now would come out to $1 per resident per year. And I think we'd all raise our hands and say, well, one more cop on the road, let's all play $1. I'll throw down my $6 for my family right now. But I just don't think that's in the spirit of what we do, what we serve as, so it's not something I intend to have a conversation with as myself personally in the next council. So, and not because everything you said is wrong, it's just not the right environment. I mean, we can talk about the right fiscal environment. It's definitely not the right environment, but it just, I appreciate all the facts, but it's not going to make a dent enough that all of a sudden, well, now I'm going to be a better councilman because I'm getting $42 more. So I apologize. And I know we've discussed it in the past, but it's not something I can support for those reasons.
Anyone else, I'd say you were bragging, but I see how much time you put in.
Councilman Pagan and then Councilmember Romney Rice.
Keith, I appreciate the research you've put into this, and I appreciate what you're saying, but these are still tough economic times, and I don't agree with this philosophically. I mean, this is my personal life, but take me, for example, I haven't gotten a pay raise at work because I talk back too much at work. That's what I've been told. And they mean it's coming from a good place, but I can't support this. And I just wanted to be on record and tell you that I can't support this. But thank you.
Councilmember.
So I too, after having served on the Board of Education for 9 years and did get it at a fat zero, truly voluntary. The stipend that we get, I agree with Mark, it's all about the service. As a matter of fact, it costs when you have to take time from your job and take vacations or take time to go to the league for training. But I think that is the debt. And I always believe that the rent you pay is for your service to this community. And that's a debt that we take on for service. So I'm not in agreement. I know it doesn't mean anything when you think about the time. You couldn't pay me enough to sit another year on this service. So I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, we didn't,
But I'm just saying that
we're
Might
not
make
up here
sense.
for the cash.
we're only here for the cash, we're here for the cash.
All right. Okay, so you have the comments of council going forward. Township managers report.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to cover some quick statistics with COVID as of December 10th. Teaneck has a total of 12,374 COVID-19 cases, and we're actually up 211 since the last council meeting on November 22nd. We're averaging a little bit over 10 cases a day. We remain at 146 deaths. Bergen County, the community transmission level is considered high for Bergen County. The infection rate is up for Bergen County. Percent positivity rate is up as well. So everyone, please be careful, use precautions, and especially during the holiday season. As a reminder, leaf season was extended until December 15th. Residents can rake and push their leaves out to the curb until that date. After that date, DPW will be making their final passes to clean up the rest of the town. Leon, as I explained to council, agreed to officially move forward with the land swap, which is going to allow the township to move forward with our new DPW project. There's certainly still a ways to go. Bergen County has agreed to do the minor diversion for Green Acres, and Leon is going to be drafting a letter that will be sent to the county commissioners advising them that they agree to the land swap. Again, this is just one step of many to move this project forward. I reached out to Larry Bauer from the Chamber of Commerce and Joanne Samaluka. She's the Director of Bergen County Economic Development to facilitate a meeting to discuss ways that we can help out our small businesses. I set up a tentative date. The meeting will be held either the 13th or the 20th. And we're going to meet with the Bergen County Economic Resiliency Advisory Committee. And again, they're going to give us some good ideas on how we can help our local businesses. So I'm looking forward to that meeting as well. Lighting of the municipal menorah will take place on Monday, December 19th at 6 p.m. on the municipal green. Everyone is welcome. And I want to thank everyone for attending last Monday's Christmas tree lighting on the green. Other than Santa running a few minutes late, it was a great time. We're looking to hire up to 10 police officers in the next academy class, which will begin in January, as well as 8 new firefighters for the next academy class that starts in January. That'll get us back to where we should be with staffing due to retirements. The 2021 roadway resurfacing project, which we do in 2022, is complete. We just finished up the entire Alfred Avenue, length of Alfred Avenue. It came out very nice. So the road resurfacing is completed for the season. What I also did last week is I sent a letter to DOT because I know there's a lot of concerns about the Decatur Avenue Route 4 ramp and the intersection at Alfred Avenue, which is under DOT control. So I sent them a letter asking them to look at ways to improve that off ramp and the intersection. I haven't heard anything back yet, but we'll wait and see. I'll keep council up to date. The new band shell foundation is going to start next week. New Pella windows came into the municipal building. In total, there's 70 windows we're replacing here. That's certainly going to help out. We've already seen a significant improvement to energy and especially safety as well. Now we can literally open up windows that we haven't been able to open up in the past. So that's going to take another 2 weeks to complete. Again, 70 windows in all. I reached out to the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission recently, asking them to secure 2 dates for the Township of Teaneck in 2023. And that's for the mobile unit where residents can go, Teaneck residents can go to conduct their business. So once I get those 2 dates, I'll certainly advertise it. And that's a great convenience for our residents. So far for 2022, Teaneck's been awarded over $1.3 million in grants using Millennium Strategies. And there's probably a few more awards coming in shortly. I'm also with the PSC&G outage about a week or so ago. The township used a lot of municipal resources and overtime as well to cover various traffic lights that were out, flares, so forth and so on. So what I'm trying to do is seek reimbursement from PSC&G for all of our costs, which is probably going to be in that 15 to 20,000, maybe more area. So I'm waiting to hear back from PSC&G. I'm also trying to get CSX to cover all of our expenses for that drainage project that we did along Palisade Avenue, which has significantly improved the flooding that used to take place along that stretch of of roadway. So we pulled up telephone poles, old railroad ties, and a lot of what we did was actually on CSX property. They knew we were doing this, and we actually did an outside contract with a vendor for the backhoe, and took a couple weeks to complete, but I'm trying to seek $32,000 from CSX. If we don't get any satisfaction from them, I will reach out to Congressman Gottheimer to see if he can put some pressure on them to pay up. New Jersey DOT finally milled and paved Queen Anne Road under Route 4. We've been waiting for that for a long time. That's all done now. We completed some crosswalks at Amsterdam, Herrick, Bell, and Cranford. We're going to be installing some of the LED pedestrian crossing signs soon. We just completed energy efficient lighting upgrades to the library. And I also reached out to our Patriotic Observance Advisory Board. What I'm trying to do is initiate for our veterans. They call it a Hometown Heroes Banner Program for veterans. So I'm going to try to work with them and see if we can get something like this done in 2023. The banners, they're vinyl. They're basically 2x4s, and they would be put on lampposts, but it honors our veterans that served our armed forces. So I think it's a great idea. I have seen it in other municipalities, and there's no reason why Teaneck shouldn't have it. And also TVAC's fundraiser is coming up. Every resident's probably going to get a mailer very soon. Please support TVAC. They're our only ambulance service. So of course, dial 911 for any emergency medical call. These donations help keep the building running, the ambulance running, and to keep them up to date with the most modern equipment. And the report.
Great. Thank you very much, Dean. All right, Township Attorney's report. Okay, thank you very much. We're moving on to formal meeting items, public hearing and adoption of ordinances. Can clerk please read in the titles of the ordinances into the record?
Yes, indeed, Mayor. We are considering two ordinances for second reading this evening. We have ordinance number 49-2022, adopting a redevelopment plan for 140 State Street, block 5004, lot 1, Township of Teaneck, New Jersey, pursuant to NJSA 40A:12A-7. And we have ordinance number 58-2022, amending section 27-3, behavior in parks of chapter 27, parks and playgrounds of the Township Code pertaining to unattended minors in the parks. Those are the two ordinances this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. Yes.
Want to make a quick motion. I had met with the manager and the acting chief of police, and he had two fairly de minimis things that he wanted to just modify on the ordinance. One was where it says minor children above the age of 5 years. He would like to change above the age of 5 years. He had an issue with the age range, especially with them not having ID at that age. So to change it to of sufficient maturity, and just to change participate in independent activities to participate independently in activities. So if I could just make those two changes by motion.
Second, it's been moved and
And
seconded.
Doug, I sent you the language.
Okay,
Received.
so we need a vote on that? Yeah.
That was a first from our mayor, second from Councilman Began. Councilwoman Rami Rice.
No on ordinance 49.
No. We're just,
Oh,
we're talking about the
language.
change
I'm sorry, I wasn't
on
paying
B.
attention.
Yeah.
I was busy eating my cake. So yes to the change of the ordinance wording.
Councilman Began, apologies. Councilwoman Organ. Councilman Kaplan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz. Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes.
Change Act.
All right. Anyone else have any comments related to the two ordinances on council? No? If not, then what we'll do is we will open up a public hearing. This hearing is just for these two ordinances. You will have a chance in good and welfare to talk about any other topic you wish to speak. But right now, we will take comments on ordinances number 49 and number 58. Yes, hold on.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ron Schwartz. I'm here representing One Town, One Vote tonight. This ordinance, as I understand it, would approve a redevelopment plan for 40 State Street. My question is, One Town, One Vote is very concerned about pilot programs and tax abatement programs that are being given with these AINRs to the owners of the property for giving real estate taxes for up to 30 years. We would like to know if there is a pilot program being given to the developer of this project. If so, please explain the program before you vote on this tonight so the public will know about it. How was it calculated? What monies are the town, what monies are the town getting, and what monies are the town forgiving? Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody on Zoom?
No hands on Zoom, Mayor.
Okay. Hillary.
Hillary Goldberg. Oh my God. I was asked if I would support ordinance 58. I said I would review it. My answer is no. First, the story I was told about a child walking their dog and the police being called demanding ID from the parents to return the child to their parents doesn't appear to have any connection with the proposed ordinance. Anyone who has spent time with my son will know that the number one rule I have for him is don't die. I can get him stitches, mend broken bones, but I cannot bring him back from the dead. That being said, he wasn't going to the playground at 5 unsupervised, or 6 or 7, or even now at 11. And that's my decision as a parent. If I did feel it was appropriate for him and a concerned resident called the police, I wouldn't be fighting with them over proving my identity to the police. They're doing their job. And instead of an argument, I would simply say, thank you for bringing him home safe. I would probably be annoyed at the resident who called the police though. If the goal of the ordinance is to eliminate the police from being able to intervene when a young child is in the parks or walking alone because people don't want to have to show an ID as a matter of libertarianism, I do not support this. If an adult sees a young child unsupervised, ask yourself, are they in distress? Is there an adult watching from a window or a park bench? Are they injured? Are they doing something illegal? Are they doing something dangerous? There are so many questions to ask yourself before calling the police about an unattended minor. What are the unintended consequences of an ordinance like this? Could it be interpreted that a 5-year-old can be left home alone? I would hope that parents would make a judgment call accordingly about their own child, but there are plenty who will do otherwise and follow the age of this ordinance. Having to show your ID to the police, children being brought home in a police car, none of it's fun, but the township should not be passing an ordinance like this. Look outside of your bubble and see the way things like this could actually be more harmful to a child. We as a community should just stop peering from the windows and speak to each other. Ask a child if they are with an adult. Ask the child if they are okay. Ask if they're lost. Don't project your own parenting styles on someone else's child, and don't pass an ordinance like this because you don't want to show an ID to a police officer. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? Mr. Sohn, then Mr. Powers.
The Alan Sohn, Teaneck resident. The first ordinance under consideration addresses a site plan for 140 State Street. I share some of the concerns that have been raised. Again, what is the background of this? Where did this come from? What are the details? Will there be a pilot plan? One of the issues that has been raised is the adequacy of parking. It's not clear that there is sufficient parking. One of the sites that apparently has been discussed was a site across the street that could be created as a parking lot, and that might serve as a buffer for adding some property. That same property on the opposite side of State Street was already designated as a property that would be used and paid for by the developers of 100 State Street. And it seems that we keep on selling this same one site over and over again to provide parking and addressing parking issues in an area where there is already very, very clearly inadequate parking. I share the concerns about a pilot agreement. And while that is not on the agenda tonight, I look forward to a new council where there will be more details made available to the public, where there will be more questions asked, and we will have greater transparency. I've looked at Ordinance 58, and I have gone through Section 27.3 of the code, including when I was on council. And it covers and is intended to cover issues that are behaviors in the park. That is the title of that section of the code. And it covers such things as use of alcohol, smoking, gambling, vending, etc., dogs on leashes, etc. I understand the goal of the objective, and I do share the concerns of interference. But it does take a village to raise a child. And it does require people asking children, are they okay? That includes police officers exercising judgment to ensure that a child is okay. The actions that are described here seem to go far beyond behavior in parks, whether it be traveling to and from school, whether it be traveling to and from nearby commercial or recreational facilities, or engaging in outdoor play anywhere. It is not clear that this only arises to behavior in parks. It does seem to put police in a situation, again, maybe the age of 5 was inappropriate, but it seems hard to determine how anybody can objectively determine whether a child is age appropriate for the actions that they're taking. I do hope that whoever interacts with somebody else's child, even with the best of intentions, exercises appropriate judgment. But I think that this ordinance oversteps that. It not only goes beyond parks, it goes beyond what is appropriate for us to be dictating. Thank you.
Anybody on Zoom? Okay, Dr. Powers.
Chuck Powers, Teaneck. I'm discussing only ordinance number 49, 2022. I actually heard, as only one other person in this room did, what the planning board discussion was about this ordinance. And for a very extensive period of time, the question came as to where in the world the visitors to the residents of this new facility were going to park, to which the planner said he did not have any information whatsoever about what the several levels of parking that were apparently at least proposed in this development plan. And so therefore, it was at that point that your deputy mayor told the planning board that you as a council were actively considering handing a pilot to the developer. That developer, incidentally, folks, is unknown. The public has no idea who it is that we're talking about suddenly being eligible to do two things: get a pilot, which means giving away our taxes, as you have been doing previously in this council. And in addition to that, apparently giving away a piece of public property in that municipal lot that Mr. Schwartz specified as where it was that they needed. Everyone agreed, even he agreed, that we need better parking for this. In other words, we have a development plan that is not sufficiently clear and fully laid out for us to have any idea about what to do about adding another very complicated set of parking problems to that very difficult area in the State Street, Queen Anne area. For heaven's sakes, send this back, table it, and get the information you need to overcome. And especially if you're about ready to hand somebody who we don't know the identity of another really big pilot. Thank you.
Someone on Zoom? Go ahead.
I lost their hand. The hand disappeared.
Hand disappeared. Anyone else here in council?
Good evening, Howard Rose, Teaneck resident. Regarding these two ordinances, let's talk first on 2022, number 49. Again, it's another pilot program that seems to be forthcoming, a giveaway. And as I indicated last time, my concern is that pilot programs, it's going to crash land. It costs money to service the needs of these residents if they come in. And we're saying, it's okay, tax abatement. Don't understand that. Parking, there is none. Without a substantial giveaway of township property for the use of a private developer. And that's where my concern comes in. Why are we so keen on subsidizing private developers when really private business deserves to exist on its own inertia, not on township tax dollar, benevolent gestures that we're all paying for? This ordinance, it should be delayed. It should be taken off the docket right now. It should be delayed until we have the new council come in and take a look at it and provide more transparency, more detail, more justification. Maybe it's wonderful. Just doesn't seem so with the information that's available right now, and it should not be approved. Next ordinance, number 58, one word, intrusive. Both of these ordinances seem like you have a cake that you put in the oven and you're taking it out when it's only half baked.
Anybody on Zoom? No. Anyone else in the chamber wishing to speak? Yes.
Yes, Sina Karyani Tinek. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I am here to speak against the ordinance regarding the unattended minors. One of you, I forgot, I'm not sure if it was Councilman Kaplan or Deputy Mayor Schwartz, who posted online that the state is ringing the alarm about student performance in English and math. And then one of the calls is for tutors to be involved. The state is calling on adults from communities to get involved in the education of children. I think as somebody who has not been blessed with children, but I have 11 nephews and nieces whom I consider my children, and one of whom I lost just last summer, I think it is important that we allow the community to be the guardians of the children of this town. Do not regulate social norms. Thank you.
Anybody on Zoom? Okay.
Bringing in Laverne Lightburn. Bringing in Laverne, please unmute whenever you can, Ms. Lightburn. Please unmute whenever you can, Ms. Lightburn.
Laverne, if you can hear us, can you unmute, please?
Okay. I got it. I guess I'm having a look. My computer's tired.
You're unmuted. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I apologize for being late, but if I'm not mistaken, you're talking about stopping children and asking the police to deal. If this is the police or so whoever, other than their parents or a teacher or someone that they would know, think it's a bad idea. I think we need to revisit it. We have had incidences in this town in the previous years when we had the news papers out, CNN and all of them were out here because the police dealt with the middle school children incorrectly. We have to remember the past. I think we need to hold up, wait a minute on this situation because it's dangerous, especially for my community, to have people interacting with our children. Let's hold up and discuss this before we go and vote. I know you'll like to introduce all these new policies, but let's deal with some of the old policies that have not been looked at. Our kids are doing okay right now. I don't see a problem, but we don't need another Purnell situation out here. We don't need another thing that where the cops picked up the kids for walking in the middle of the street many, many times. Remember, please. And that's all I have to say on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lightburn.
Anybody else in chambers who hasn't spoken? Okay, we have another person on.
I am bringing in Miriam. Miriam Gedweiser. Feel free to correct me on your last name if I did not pronounce it correctly.
All good. Gedweiser. I'm here to speak in favor of the ordinance about unattended minors. As I understand it, the ordinance is a way of trying to reduce police involvement in children's lives and parenting decisions. In terms of regulating social norms, the way to not regulate social norms is to remove the police from deciding who has made an okay decision or not about their child. Having had a very negative personal experience when somebody who doesn't know me or my family involved the police in a decision where they did not need to be, I think that maybe that could have been prevented by something like this, by sort of setting a norm that parents can make reasonable decisions that are different from each other, and that's okay. So I would urge you to, I think it's a way of protecting families from unnecessary police involvement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on Zoom?
No hands, man.
All right, then we will close the public hearing on these two ordinances. And I'll ask council if they have any comments.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll speak to the comments made about 49-202. Just a few some few comments, as Dr. Power said, that only two of us in the room were at the planning board hearing. And I think that's important to not just read the financial plan, but to also hear what's been speaking before you speak out against it. Obviously, you're entitled to your own opinion, but the facts have to be presented properly. But before that, Mr. Schwartz, especially as you're representing one vote, one TNEC, I think it's important from a transparency aspect when you tell people that we're forgiving the taxes for 30 years, to mention a pilot is payment in lieu of taxes. So for example, on Alfred Avenue, when people come up and say, we're not getting paid for 30 years, we're actually getting about $900 to $1.1 million, whereas the taxes would be about $1.5 million. So it's a far different to say we're not getting paid. And I had a great neighborhood meeting the other night with some residents from the Bell Avenue area, who one of the comments was, we're not getting property taxes for that property. And in their minds, they're thinking we're not getting paid at all. It's tax-free, which isn't the case. So I think it would only be fair for transparency to mention there is a significant payments made in lieu of property taxes. Just to clarify some of the parking comments that the planning board made, the planning board insisted that their tolerance for a lower parking ratio will not be easily given on this site. Our Stonefield Engineering created a traffic study which showed that our new buildings are vastly over parked or have more parking than needed, and suggested we lower the parking ratios. The planning board said on this site they will not listen to that Stonefield traffic report and request more parking, because what they don't want is to create a situation park in the building, I'm going to go park on State Street where we know our parking is limited. As it relates to a financial plan, seeing the numbers, there is no pilot. There has been no financial plan. There will be a financial plan. Some of the items that were discussed by the zoning subcommittee or mentioned at the planning board would be for the developer to build a parking lot on State Street, not the existing lot, but east of Terrace Circle, west of Teaneck Road, where there's a plot of land to build a approximately 44 spot parking lot, not connected to the building, not designated for the building, free and clear for the township residents. Now, that's just something that's mentioned. There's been no analysis of the value of that lot compared to the payments that the taxes we may lose in exchange for the pilot. That will be forthcoming in a financial study, if at all, if it comes forward. That said, to confirm with Mr. Sohn said, that lot, 100 State Street's development was originally supposed to build that lot. 100 State Street's variance is pretty much expired. That property has not gone through, and as such, we have a piece of grass that we hope someone will potentially build in exchange for potentially a pilot agreement. So much more will come on that, if at all. There is no financial plan yet. There is no pilot yet. This is just confirming the redevelopment plan, which will be the next steps should something materialize, which of course I hope it does, and hope to have that financial analysis provided to our new council. Thank you very much.
Councilman Kaplan.
And I just want to build on what Deputy Mayor Schwartz said, because if you just listen to some of the comments tonight, you would miss the forest for the trees. There's going to be 247 residential units. If you're a progressive that believes we have a housing crisis, building units is what you need to do. If you believe that is important to have affordable housing, you need to build affordable housing. You can't study it, but you need to study it, but appropriately. You can't study it forever so that you don't have anything actually being built. The current taxes paid on the area in Alfred Avenue is 71 grand. It's priced at $2.196 million. They pay 71 grand. The annual service charge alone for the new development is supposed to be in the neighborhood, they're guessing, of $618,000, 71 grand to 618. That is a number you will never see in Mr. Schwartz's, Ron Schwartz's information. Now, we have the ability to have great conversations with the public. We have the ability to speak at length, not here. So I'm going to make this offer. Mr. Ron Schwartz, Chuck Powers, any of you that wish, name a time, name a place, we'll open the Zoom. You'll bring your data, I'll bring mine, and we could show what these will actually do for the town. You will have to answer actual questions and you won't be able to evade. We're going to show numbers and I will do the exact same thing. Let's give residents exactly what they deserve to see. As far as the other ordinance, Ms. Gedweiser was correct. This is merely something that reduces the unnecessary interactions. It certainly would not stop, and nor was it meant to stop, any appropriate police interactions. Our cops deal with tons of dangerous and frankly horrible situations throughout their day, and they do so with amazing dignity, and they have my everlasting respect. There are times when they are called, unfortunately, unnecessarily, because we are a society that tends to call the cops when opening the door and saying, "Are you okay?" would suffice. This would merely let the public and our officers and everyone know that, just like our Board of Ed policy has always been, that you don't necessarily need parents when you're above 6 years old, when your kid gets off the bus in order to walk home. You certainly can, but you don't need them. It merely codifies what we have been doing as a practice for a very long time in the township. And that's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
On the one that Councilman Kaplan brought up, he shared with me a video of an incident, and I shared with my comments and sentiments were to him, "Welcome to my world," because that is something when a police person would grab an adult, particularly a male of color, and ask questions later. Or have a young girl that's catching lanternflies and have the police called on her because, the young girl is out there suspicious. So I understand why that there is a need for this, and hopefully it would bring a further equity. But my first comment to you about this was building community, so that it would be a community member that would, interact with the student, that we would all be our brothers and sisters keepers. So that I would be in favor if it does decrease police interaction. With regard to the second ordinance redevelopment, I just really wish, this is a piece of land that has been clearly in need of development, just as 100 State Street. And I understand that these come up as perhaps the developer is interested. But I really wish, when you talked about opening up a Zoom, that there really would be a comprehensive look as we look at our master plan that is not just plots of land. When I first saw the rendering, I was like, oh, finally, we're looking comprehensively at State Street. But it never seems to be that we're having those conversations or entertaining developers that would be really looking at the comprehensive piece and not just plots individually. I'm still going to push for that. I would hope that the next council continues to push for opportunities where you bring in developers, where you bring in businesses, like chamber and residents, would all be able to say what the vision of TNEC is. So therefore, I'm not in favor of this. That's it.
Right. Just a brief comment on 58. I've struggled back and forth on whether or not I'm comfortable with this or not. One of the concerns I have is the wording in there that relates to, it actually doesn't relate to parks at all. And this is in the area of our code, which is dealing with parks. So as a procedural issue, I have a problem. While at the same time, having listened to other members of the community who are concerned about how their community is treated by police anywhere, I have to be very sensitive to that as well. I think that, though, may be handled better perhaps by training and ongoing training, and maybe not necessarily going to this extent in this ordinance. So while I appreciate the concerns raised, and I appreciate the fact that people want to give kids an opportunity to be out on their own, I still think that under current conditions, they still have that opportunity. And so I will probably be voting no on 58. All right. Let's have a roll call.
We had, was there a first? Please remind me.
I'll make a motion to approve 49-2022 and 58-2022.
Second, Schwartz.
Councilman Rami Rice. Councilman McGon. Councilman Organ. Oh, she's not on there. Councilman Kaplan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes to both.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes to 49, no to 58.
All right, all adopted.
Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, we will open the meeting for good and welfare. This is the time where people can discuss anything they wish. You'll have 3 minutes. The clerk will be monitoring it. I have a request to start with our friend Daryl, who was here on another issue. He wasn't aware that we were not going to deal with it tonight, but I want to give him the opportunity to discuss it.
Thank you, council members, and thank you everyone who came out tonight. My name is Daryl Green, and I am a Teaneck resident. I'm here to humbly request that we honor one of our unsung heroes, Lieutenant Freddie Green. Lieutenant Freddie Green was the first African-American police officer in Teaneck. As a kid, I remember Freddie Green when he used to chase us during my teenage years when we would ride our motorcycles through Tryon Park. Freddie Green represented true community policing. He was the kind of person who knew the kids, knew the parents, and got involved before police interaction was necessary. I would like to see a street marker, a street renaming celebration for Lieutenant Freddie Green in the Circle Drive area. I've asked his family, I'm here, John, his mom, Rick, former council member Leo Wilcox, all of whom support. We love Freddie Green. We like to see him honored. I like to see council and the community consider a street renaming ceremony for Lieutenant Freddie Green. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bringing in Laverne Lightburn. Ms. Lightburn, please accept that invite.
Get somebody else to speak at first.
Oh, that's all right.
Mr.
I
Wu.
can- Just put it behind me in case I fall. Hi, everybody.
Happened. First, Laverne, sit tight just 1 minute. I'll bring you in 1 minute.
It's okay. Go ahead, sir. Mr. Wilcox,
Yeah, you go ahead.
please speak.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, John. I don't need it. I can shout. Folks, you're looking at a guy that's going to be 97 in a couple of months.
God bless.
I'm an old guy. And the privileges that come with it, I can wear a hat, I can say something outlandish, but I'm here today
Let me give you a little background first. I started working for the township in 1960 at a salary that probably couldn't afford the bridge toll with that salary. But I'm here today because I want to honor my friend of almost a half a century. Freddie Green was more than the first African-American police officer. He was more than a nice guy. This was a man, and I feel sad that you people didn't know him. Dean did. And Dean trained under him. This is a man of immense talent. He had an IQ going off the charts. He was a public safety icon. When I look at TV and I see all these public safety people speak, Freddie didn't take it back to anybody. Back in the 60s, we had an extraordinary police chief named Bob Fitzpatrick. Bob initiated community policing, and Freddie had a special squad. This was an amazing group. They did an amazing things. It was mind-boggling. At the corner of Teaneck Road and Englewood Avenue, that would be the southwest corner, there was a storefront. The people in the storefront were all police officers in Freddie's special squad. Kids could walk in there, have somebody help them with their homework. They could have somebody counsel them. They could deal with their problems. This was police and community. And it was an amazing thing to watch. Freddie had dances at the townhouse. Just he chaperoned them. He was involved in this community. We had an adult baseball program for 16 to 18-year-olds. And Freddie and the special squad coached these kids. He was involved again in community. And there were many Freddie Green stories that you should know. Back in the 70s, there was a serial rapist, killer, an adolescent. And it terrorized the community. People protested. Ironically, the rapist's mother was one of the protesters. Freddie solved that crime by himself. It was an amazing thing. Some of his accomplishments were outstanding. When I look at TV and I see the violence and I see people being stomped and choked, I see police officers assassinated during the break. And I wish, it's frustrating because I wish Freddie were around. There was a Freddie Green in each one of those departments. I don't have a witness. Raise your hand. This is an amazing thing. I could go on and on. He's a friend of your father's, but and father is a sweet man. But you have an opportunity to honor this icon. You do. And Freddie left me an inheritance, his wonderful family. And Sean, I don't know what to do. But again, you have an opportunity to honor this guy. Please do it. You honor yourself when you do. Thanks a lot, Fred.
Thank you.
Laverne, whenever you're ready.
Hello, how are you?
Seamless. Try to talk a little closer to your microphone if you can, Miss Lightburn. I'm sorry.
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you? You have 3 minutes whenever you're ready.
Okay. I just wanted to chime in to tell Javon Rice, thank you for her years of services, because I think this is the last meeting. I'm not sure. She's been very helpful to the community. She's been there for us at all times. You know, no one is always right all the times, but she's there. She's very diplomatic. And I just want to say thank you very much especially from myself. The other thing is maybe I am not clear about the children's ordinance, and I'd like y'all to speak about that a little more. I know y'all voted on it, but I'm not understanding, is this a job or not? Because I would hate for some stranger to come up to my children for many reasons. I also want y'all to recognize that there are this area, the Bergen County area between Teaneck, Hackensack, and Inglewood. I did some research years ago, and now we do have a lot of predators in this area. So I don't know about someone stranger just coming up and talking to my kid and interacting. I prefer, actually, I don't know who I prefer. But meanwhile, getting back to the street, hopefully Freddie will have a better look at getting the street naming as opposed to me getting any help from you guys for ex-Senator Weinberg. Hopefully the next council will do it. I think that y'all should have put politics aside and you should have considered, maybe I wasn't clear, maybe the 20-30 people that we sent the letter to you all wasn't clear, that y'all didn't even give a damn to actually sit down and respect me and answer me. I understand why y'all didn't do it, but why you do that? That takes my minute away. But I really believe that if y'all cannot give this woman a park, y'all should have at least came back and said, we can't give her a park. We can't rename the park. I didn't want it renamed. We just wanted to add her name to a park. Come back with some suggestions. Y'all didn't even have the dignity to come back and give me any suggestions on how we can honor the sister that did a lot for our state. That's all I have to say. You all have a blessed day and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Ramadan. And if I missed anything else, be well.
Thank you, Laverne. Hillary?
Thanks, Laverne.
Hillary?
Hi, Hillary Goldberg. Councilwoman Romney Rice, thank you. Thank you for doing the impossible task of being up there alone. Thank you for asking the tough questions, for fighting for the residents who felt like they had no voice, can't see, and for taking, quite frankly, some verbal abuse that you shouldn't have had to, and for serving Teaneck. It was emotionally and physically exhausting, but you did it, meeting after meeting, and we thank you. This election, Teaneck spoke. They were heard, and whether or not the 7 people sitting on the dais on January 3rd are the people you voted for, someone else voted for them. No one's experiences are wrong, and no one's votes are wrong. No one voted wrong. They voted based on their experiences and desires for Teaneck. In fact, telling someone they voted wrong is just as abusive as telling someone their experiences are wrong. Over the next 2 years, I look forward to prioritizing making Cedar Lane a destination. 10 years ago last week, it was Louis, and today it's Bischoff's, and it's gut-wrenching. Not only did we lose a 90-year-old business on Cedar Lane, but we lost an anchor business. We lost a place that so many of us have called home our entire lives. We owe it to our businesses and our residents to support the revitalization of all business districts. Myself, Councilwoman-elect Belcher and G look forward to bringing transparency to the process residents feel are not. We look forward to bringing a shared vision for Teaneck. We look forward to opening the door so our residents trust and feel confident that they are heard. We look forward to meetings where residents speak, not because they're demanding answers, but because they know what's going on and want to contribute to the process. We look forward to meetings where everyone is spoken to respectfully. We also look forward to working respectfully and collaboratively with our new colleagues on the dais. We know there are things that we do not agree on, and we know there are things that we do agree on. There are even things that we didn't know we agreed on. It's not the what, it's the how. If the past 6 weeks is indicative of the next 2 years, then Teaneck will be heard. Teaneck will be more transparent, and all of us are ready to do the work. Trust takes time. The Teaneck of tomorrow will be better than the Teaneck of today. Thank you. Got to get the kid to bed.
Anybody in Zoom?
I am bringing in Paula Rogovan.
God bless you.
Paula, whenever you're ready, please unmute. Hello. Can't hear you,
Can't-
Paula.
Paula, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, you sound very light. You sound very low.
Is that any better?
No.
Yeah, wait, give us 1 minute. Please hold. Thank you. Paula, give me a check 1, 2, please.
Any better?
No.
Can you hear
Check
me?
again. Try, just give me a check 1, 2. No, it's not. We're trying to raise the volume on our end.
Okay.
We can't really hear you.
All right, can we try, keep trying with Paula, but move on to another person?
Yeah, sure. Paula, we're just going to bring someone in person. Maybe I'll try to bring you back in as a panelist.
Okay.
Please hold.
Back to, yes.
Hello, Celine Lewis Wong, Teaneck resident, taking off my mask. First, I want to say that to Javon, you are a pioneer in this community. You are loved. I feel like I'm about to cry. You are loved. I know your parents are looking down and saying, job well done. I know that our former mayor, Lizette Parker, is saying, job well done. You are appreciated and love. You are a pioneer. And I'm just so happy to be here to tell you that. And my mother is saying hi too. And so I just want you to know. Next, I want to say that a couple months ago, I brought to the council regarding the reading little libraries for the Teaneck parks. I haven't heard much back since, and I'm wondering whether it's still going to happen. I'm looking forward to seeing them in the parks and, you know, enjoying reading. It's a community, and we spoke a lot about community today. So I'm just wondering where that's going. And that was it. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. You have someone on Zoom, Paul?
Paula, can you try again, please? Paula, when you can, please give us a check 1, 2.
No?
While we're working that out, I'm going to be bringing in James Veach to see if we can have him come up.
Okay.
James Veach, whenever you're ready, you can unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Doug. Teaneck has an ethics board established by our code. It's a board that should consist of 6 residents, and they operate under our code, and they enforce the township's code of ethics. And they also operate within New Jersey state law. Unfortunately, this council has allowed the ethics board to languish to the point where it had, for most of 2022, only 3 members, not 6 members. So we had no ethics board. In addition, this council spent a lot of time naming streets and doing all kinds of things, but I don't think I ever heard them promote the ethics board very often. The council could have, the manager could have explained to the residents how the ethics board works. It's a way for officers, public officers, to get advisory opinions and employees, and it's a vehicle for residents to complain if they think they see an ethics breach. In addition, the ethics board is responsible for enforcing the financial disclosure statements that about 90 officers and employees of the town must file under state law. You won't be surprised to learn, residents, that there are literally dozens of officers and employees who have not filed their financial disclosure statements in 2022. The council finally decided to swing into action and appointed a police officer to the board in October, but they forgot to check that he had to be a resident of Teaneck, and of course, he isn't a resident. So then they amended that ordinance and appointed another officer. That brought us up to 4 members of our ethics board. It's a little late in the game for this organization, for this council to do anything about this. But I'm certainly hoping that the new council will breathe life into the ethics board. If it's not done, then ethics complaints will be shunted down to Trenton. There are only 29 ethics boards in the entire state of New Jersey. And I'm urging the next council not to let this board die and send everything to Trenton. Revive the board, promote the board, and God knows we need it. We are up to our eyeballs in conflicts of interest and litigation, conflicts attorneys arising out of holy name and other matters in town. This is all on this council. You blow it. I'm hoping the next council does better.
Thank you. Okay. Lady in the red, yeah.
Miss Rogovan, we're bringing in
No,
someone.
no,
No, I know. We're bringing in someone else from Chambers if you want. Yeah.
on deck.
Check your setup.
Good evening, Mayor Dunleavy, members of the council, and members of the public. My name is Tara Edmonds, and I'm a Teaneck resident. And I bring greetings on behalf of Ms. Geraldine Craig, the president of Bergen County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and its members. Will all the members of Delta Sigma Theta that are in the audience please stand? We stand here today to say thank you and congratulations to Councilwoman Romney Rice for your dedicated years of service to the Township of Teaneck. Teaneck native, wife, mother, former Teaneck Board of Education trustee, appointed, then elected Township of Teaneck Councilwoman, and a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Councilwoman Romney Rice is a true public servant leader with a long history of community advocacy and service. Javon has truly taken to heart that service is the rent that we pay to be living. It is the very purpose of life and not something you do in your spare time. Councilwoman Romney Rice, we salute you. Thank you for your many years of advocacy and service to the Township of Teaneck.
I'm going to go a little bit out of order because we have Sheriff Curran here. If he wanted to say a few words.
Good evening, all. Good evening, all. It's an honor and pleasure to stand before the great Teaneck Council and those who are moving on to the next chapter in their life, and those who are coming on. But I'm gonna step out of lane just for a little bit. My sister, Javon Romney Rice, known her for so many years, known her on the battlefield prior to me becoming sheriff. That's a young lady with a compassion and a heart that breathed public service. And sometimes people may get, I'm gonna say, blinded by her passion, but do they really look down and see how deep she believes in serving the people. And you've seen it just like I've seen it. That young lady over there loved giving back to the people. And Teaneck, I just want to say, we should all take a moment and be thankful for what she's sacrificed to make Teaneck a better place day by day. I believe you're a lifelong resident. Oh, so you got roots, grounded. There's not too many times you can see people who come from their hometown stay so rooted to the ground and want to be there to the very end. So again, I wish you the best. We are still friends. We're always going to be friends. When I take the hat off, I don't know when that's going to happen. I'll be there for you. And thank you for all the things you've done. I've never forgotten my first time on running for office. She was right there on my side, giving me the guidance I need, giving me the support I need. And I'm ever so grateful for it. And I think the people of Teaneck, those who are on Zoom and those who are in this chamber, should take a moment and say thank you.
And thank you, Sheriff, for everything you've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'm just checking in with Paula Rogovan here.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and
Got it.
clear, miss. You got 3
Okay.
minutes.
Okay, I'd like to thank Councilwoman Romney Rice for your years of dedication, for your years of doing a job where you were not always popular. And that wasn't your issue. That wasn't your goal to be popular, but it was to fight for the people of Teaneck. And I want to thank you so much for your work. I agree with the speaker from the last council meeting who talked about reflection. You would think that the dramatic loss by moving Teaneck forward slate, the council would take time to reflect on the reasons for that loss. You might want to think back to the time after the previous election when the council majority, without hesitation, voted for an all-white, all-male slate for mayor and 2 deputy mayors in our town that is so diverse. When we rallied outside the meeting, you chose not to think about why people were so upset, but instead you chose to go after some of the demonstrators. We plead with those of you who will remain on the council in January to remember the call by so many who voted for the Rise for Teaneck candidates, that voters want diversity. We want diversity to be built in the membership and the leadership of our council, as well as commissions, committees, and advisory boards. When I gave the council photos at our last meeting, photos of our municipal parking lot across from Stop and Shop, the dangerous dead trees were finally removed. That's a good step forward. Now the next step is for you to, or the next council, to reject areas in need of redevelopment, AINRs, and table all votes related to it, the AINR process. We, the people, did not create the garbage or the dead trees that led you to think that was an area in need of redevelopment. Clearly, we, the voters, do not want to give developers our public land in any sector of Teaneck. It snowed yesterday. Let me remind you that in the past, when there's been a snow prediction, a prediction of a major snowstorm, residents were told by email and robocalls that we could park at municipal lots during the storm. This was critically important to residents in apartment buildings like on Elma Terrace, and Larch, who use the municipal lot on American Legion Drive. Your AINR across from Stop and Shop would fill that municipal lot with a 6-story building. There would be no parking for the hundreds of apartment residents south of Cedar Lane. In addition to parking problems from your AINR, we would be faced with pollution from the buildings and additional vehicles. We already are faced with pollution from being sandwiched between 3 major highways, Route 480 and 95, and the diesel exhaust from CSX trains. Adding more pollution would seriously harm our health.
Paula, your 3 minutes
Yes.
are up. Thank you. Okay, I'll stay in the back over there.
Shanaz from Teaneck.
First, I want to recognize, congratulate, and thank Councilwoman Jaron Romney Rice for her service to the community and for her leadership. It is not easy being a minority. It is not easy being the only woman at the table. It is not easy being an African-American woman. It is not easy to be in a position of leadership when your voice is not heard, when your issues are ignored, when your colleagues do not show support on things that matter to your community. We have witnessed this on many issues such as BLM mural, LGBTQ, and housing and gentrification. Most terrifying was during pandemic, and we only had you, Jaron, to help seniors of color get registered for vaccines. So thank you. You represented diversity, and oftentimes it seems like tokenism because having one voice at the table is insufficient and is ineffective. Jaron, you may not have been supported by your fellow council members at all times, but your resilience is bringing a new leadership that will not only be a lone voice at the table anymore. I want to thank you for speaking truth to power and for enabling new leaders. Also, I want to recognize and thank Councilwoman-elect Hillary Goldberg, who was the first person to stand in solidarity with the Muslim community against the most recent intimidation, harassment, and bigotry the community faced, where a truck displaying anti-Muslim images and messages on a digital screen has been driving past mosques in New Jersey. Hillary exhibited the moral compass and empathy that is needed. I also want to thank Mayor Dunleavy, who came to the mosque after learning about the truck incident at several mosques. The mayor's support of community impacted by hate is important and a step towards the right direction after the council's recent condemnation of TDMC anti-hate resolution, which addressed the issues we're facing now. Your condemnation supported hate groups that called into this council meeting from Texas. They were emboldened, and during Thanksgiving, a Global Hindu Heritage Foundation held their annual gala fundraiser to demolish 75 churches in a town in India and convert Christians and force convert Christians to Hinduism. This persecution of Christians is hate, and we have no room for hate. Hope the Teaneck Council begins to understand the ramification of your condemnation, which is why we continue to ask the council to retract this and do not support hate and hate groups. Lastly, I would like to make the suggestion I made at the May Council meeting to establish a DEI committee. To understand the community, you need representation. Our local businesses, especially minority-owned businesses, are hurting. We have inequity in healthcare, housing, food. We need to review our boards and committees to determine if we have representation or tokenism, and need to understand the difference between the two. There are many other inequities, and it would be nice for our town to be a role model of DEI.
Thank you.
I'm bringing in AK. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Doug. This is Reshma Khan, Teaneck resident. Doug, you seem to have upgraded the web, Zoom and web experience for those who are online. Sorry, council meetings are always in the evening when I'm getting my kids to bed. Thanks for doing that. I want to convey my best wishes to all the outgoing council members for their service to Teaneck, and especially to our favorite person tonight, Jawan Romney Rice. Jawan, what a brilliant female leader you have been. We really appreciate you digging in your heels and voicing your opinion no matter what. You faced several challenging times and you were flying the flag of diversity really high. You raised your kids here. You're a great example of a lifelong resident who is always willing to serve their town. And you have inspired so many future leaders. The road has not been easy. We do appreciate that you were there for us when we needed you, and we appreciate your dedication to public service. So for that, thank you, thank you. To the Teaneck Council, we hope that on behalf of residents, we hope that you will codify the town's respect to all our leaders especially female leaders who champion diversity. It is not easy to sit on an all-male panel and voice opinion and represent residents. We haven't forgotten that you have forgotten to rename the park for ex-Senator Weinberg, who will now be retired almost 2 years, who gave 60 years in public service, 30 of those in the legislature. She has been unequivocally called the most consequential legislator in the history of New Jersey. And she lives right here in Teaneck. So many organizations have honored her, and Teaneck Township has forgotten about her. So I urge you to move quickly on this. I'm looking forward to a fantastic new chapter in the history of Teaneck when more women will be on the Teaneck Council. In fact, women will be in the majority, joining Councilman Organ. And I'm looking forward to change in Teaneck. This will be very meaningful and very exciting times in the history of Teaneck. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Danielle G. I wanted to take a moment to thank our departing members for their service to Teaneck these past 4 years. I have had the pleasure of working with each of you in various capacities, and I'm truly grateful for the commitment and hard work that you have poured into these roles. Mayor Dunleavy, you stepped into the role of mayor during one of the most difficult times in the middle of a global pandemic, and yet you led with grace and the cool composure of a seasoned leader. Thank you for your service. Councilman Kaplan, there's no denying how much rigor you've devoted to this role, from cleaning up our town codes, your responsiveness to community members, and your ability to track down the most random facts about Teaneck. Thank you for your service. Last but certainly not least, Councilwoman Jervon Romney Rice, my fellow boy mom, my fellow Jack and Jill mom, my fellow Board of Ed trustee alum. I'm so honored to carry the torch forward on your behalf. You have left big shoes to fill. You have been a shining star in our community, advocating for our neediest and underserved community members, shining a light on health disparities, Black maternal health in particular, raising awareness about the importance of COVID vaccines, making sure that our seniors had access, working to address food insecurity amongst our seniors. You have made so many of us proud. Thank you so much for your service. Finally, I would like to acknowledge the council members who will be staying on for the next 2 years, Deputy Mayors Ellie Katz and Mark Schwartz, Councilwoman Karen Organ, and Councilman Mike Pagan. While we might not all agree on all the issues, I think the one thing we do agree on is that we strive to do what is best for Teaneck. From my preliminary conversations with each of you, I sense a commitment to work collaboratively to ensure a smooth transition. I am very excited to work with you. I think we will be most effective when we come together to address all of our community members' needs. And so I look forward to doing just that. Thank you.
Bringing in Sandy Silverberg. Whenever you are ready, Sandy, 3 minutes.
Okay. I'm here. Doug, is that working?
Yes, sound great.
I don't hear you.
You sound great.
Okay, fine. So many of the people have spoken and eloquently, and every single word, I believe that were all the words that were addressed to Javon. I'll just add my small little voice. I've said this to her privately, and now I'm happy to say it publicly. I believe that if it weren't for Javon and the wonderful township manager, there'd be a lot of people that wouldn't have survived COVID. My personal thanks to you, Javon. I'll never forget what you did. And I think that everybody has rightly lauded you, and thank you very much. I've spoken to some of the other council members, some of whom are departing, and I thank you for your service. I have 1 or 2 other comments. AINR, no. Simple. It's time to understand that it's up to us, not up to a council, to decide how TNEC is going to move forward. And the last one I have is a question. With the rising COVID rate and flu rates, which are phenomenally large, and RSV, I wonder if the if the township would consider remasking and some other restrictions in municipal properties. I'm thinking particularly of the Rhoda Center. So I wonder if that's under consideration, or if, what is a tipping point, at which point that would be under consideration. I know it's difficult to go backwards, but I struggle with that at the library. So I was interested to know. Thank you very much. I wish everybody a safe, healthy, happy new year. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Sandy.
Hello, I'm Philip Yuck. I live on Bell Avenue in Teaneck. I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank Deputy Mayor Mark Schwartz and council members Michael Pagan and Karen Organ for meeting with the residents who live between Garrison and Windsor and Beatrice and Beverly, right next to the Beverly Road parking lot yesterday. We had a very good meeting. There were about 50 or 60 attendees at the meeting, and it was, I think, very productive. You heard loud and clear at that meeting that the neighbors do not want an apartment building in the Beverly Road parking lot. I think that's abundantly clear. Nobody wants the traffic and pollution that will result from building on American Legion Drive either. So I think your next step should be to meet with the residents south of Cedar Lane and hear what they think about this proposal. It's not just people living in the shadows of this massive project if it ever gets approved who are against it. It's people all over town who care about the integrity, character, and quality of the town, both people who have lived here for years and people who are new in town. Teaneck is not a city, it's a town of primarily single-family homes. You cannot approve an apartment building right next to our homes. This settlement agreement's proposal for 3 apartment buildings right in the center of town will affect the entire town and requires that you notify all residents and invite them to multiple public forums where everyone can be heard. The infrastructure in town is very old and inadequate. That's why Bell, Beatrice, and Esther have flooding problems. It will not support large apartment buildings in this area. Installing a culvert, which is the first step here, will not solve the major flooding that enters our homes. A retention tank in Sagamore Park may take a year or more to just get approved, let alone to be built. A tank in the Beverly Road parking lot was presented to us in previous meetings as part of the plan and is now off the table, hoping for construction and for the developer to install it. Mayor Dunleavy and Mr. Kaczynski had assured us that the money would be there for that project. What are we to do in the interim when the heavy rains flood our streets and our homes yet again? What's the plan to revitalize Cedar Lane as we wait for years for the decisions and outcomes of this proposed construction if the thinking is that the construction will revitalize Cedar Lane, which we believe it will not? We all need to look at all possibilities, and you need to listen to residents. Rather than incenting developers to take over our parking lots, how about incenting Cedar Lane property owners to build above their stores and incenting businesses to come to town? Maybe a Starbucks, that's been talked about for years. And what about young people? I don't see young people on Cedar Lane. We are, after all, college town. Where are the students? You'd get a lot of foot traffic. This was a question that came up at yesterday's meeting, which had to do with cannabis and the location. I heard this gentleman today. The residents and I are in favor of cannabis on Cedar Lane, and we live right there. Thank you.
I am bringing in Margaret Baker. Margaret Baker, you have 3 minutes whenever you are ready. Margaret Baker, you need to unmute whenever you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Ms. Baker. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm Margaret Baker, Teaneck, soon to be a resident of the 2 Tower Alfred Avenue. I'm calling to thank Councilwoman Rice. You have been very helpful. You listened. I was able to talk to you and you responded. Thank you very much. My next issue is Alfred Avenue and cannabis. I don't know who's coming up with these ideas. It's enough with the 2 proposed buildings with parking for 700 and some cars. And you're talking about putting a cannabis products at the end of Alfred. Where are all of these cars going to go? Down a one-way street. You go down, but you have to come back up to Decatur to get out. I think someone is just going back and forth. You came out here, you were going to put up one building. Then 2 weeks later, you decided, oh, let's go back and do the second building. Now you're talking about canvas. Yes, this will be Fort Lee with the apartment buildings, the traffic. The traffic out here is terrible and it's not going to get any better. And you're waiting now to check with the state about the on and off ramp of Route 4 in Decatur? And the intersection right there, that should have been considered when you were talking about these buildings. It just doesn't make sense. Why are you trying to put everything in this area? There are other areas in Teaneck, just like the gentleman spoke before me, on Cedar Lane. Spread it out, not just on Alfred Avenue, and add to the traffic congestions. I think you need to rethink your proposed projects. The planning board and this council. Hopefully, when the new council comes in, it'll be different.
Ms. Baker.
They'll listen.
Ms. Baker, thank you. Yassine.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. First, before I forget, I would like to also thank Councilwoman-elect G for making a statement in support of the Muslim community recently. Look, there is a simple Islamic principle I live by, which is that you must take action, and then when you take action, you're rewarded by God once, and that if you take action and that action yields great results, then you're rewarded a second time. And I just want to thank the party and members of council. Thank you so much for your service, really. We agree, we disagree, we agree nicely, we disagree nicely, we agree passionately, we disagree harshly, doesn't matter, but what brings us together is that spirit of service to the municipality. So I just want to I got each one of you a little something that I would like to give you. I will start with Councilwoman Rice. Another one, similar one to Mayor Dunleavy. And then I'm gonna say this, if you know, you know. I have the same card for for Mayor Dunleavy, except that half the words are misspelled.
Just, yeah, leave it there. Thanks.
And the third person who's able to find the township codes and laws from even paper was invented, Mr. Keith Kaplan. And I'm no Eddie Murphy, but I have to read my card to you. So according to Section 5, Article 17, Paragraph 3 of the Zamunda Constitution, one must thank the members of council. So thank you, Councilman Kaplan. And this is the kosherest thing that I could find. So again, I thank you so much for your service. I'm sure it was tough to be 1 against 6. And then I hope that whoever becomes the mayor is able to contain the meetings where this very feisty community comes in to defend its rights. And I hope that we can get somebody else or still use the services of Mr. Kaplan in finding us the information that we need. Thank you so much and God bless you.
Thank you. Got anybody on Zoom?
Ms. Lewis here, queued up. Ms. Lewis, whenever you are ready to unmute. I was muted. Whenever you're ready to unmute, I was muted. I don't know if you heard me or not, but I was muted.
Good evening. I just want to congratulate all those who are stepping down from the council, Mayor Dunleavy, Councilman Kaplan, and of course, Councilwoman Javon Rice. Councilwoman Javon, I really want to truly thank you for your sacrifice and dedication for both the Board of Education, those many years you spent there, and also for the many years on the council. I was there many nights when we were there till midnight. You were still there, you know, and I know it was very difficult when you still had a son at home that you had to deal with. Also, you would come to the community meetings and explain to us different issues from the council. So really, I really, truly thank you. And I know you will still be involved, even though you're not on council. I know that's in your DNA. So God bless you. Thank all of you. And Javon Rice, thank you again. Good night.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you,
Lewis.
Ms. Lewis. Howard?
Thank you. Howard Rose, Teaneck resident. A couple of things, actually a number of things here. I almost feel like I have a stew pot out and I'm taking everything out of the refrigerator at one time and putting it in there and stirring it. Let's start with Youth Advisory Board. It's been a wonderful organization for many years, developing a lot of good young people into service type situations for our community. Javon's had a lot to do with that over the years, and I thank her for that. Bischoff's. It's what we know in the trade as a destination store. It brings people in. It won't be anymore, but the memory will persist. Cannabis has been a question that's been going on for a long time now, 2 years it seems. And we had a guy come up today to speak to council about a topic that he was almost seemingly unprepared for. And I'm wondering if the reason for that was that he, like the rest of the general public and like our council itself, were not kept informed in detail about what was going on regarding the needs. If you don't know what's being required to get licensure through the township, how can you come and make a presentation? And I'm wondering also how we're treating that group of younger people who came through twice and made a presentation. Did they get the same knowledge, the same information? Did they know that if they had a pending lease contingent upon approval by council, that it might be granted? I mean, are we playing everyone on a level board? I don't know. Stipends for council. I want to thank Mark, Michael, and Javon for your statements regarding that. I've always believed that the Teaneck Board of Education put in as much time, energy, and effort regarding their tasks as the council does. Consequently, I always believed that the stipend for the council should be the same as the stipend for the Board of Education. Zero. It's a public service. It's something you're doing that hopefully will help your community, and you will get so much self-gratitude out of what you're doing that that's sufficient to the task. Javon, I've known you for about a decade now. It started, I guess, when we were both concurrently board members of the Teaneck Board of Education. 9 members who got together. I always considered you as a little bit more than 1/9 of the board. So that was my opinion of you, and it remains. But we worked together with 7 others, and as a group, we did so much in trying to enhance and better the situation for the Board of Education, for the students, for the community, whether it be in sports, whether it be in education, whether it be in counseling, whether it be in special needs students, right on target all the time. Well, you changed your coat and you came here, and it was difficult. Euphemistically, I make the statement that you were literally up against the gang of 6, and it was difficult, and there was adversity, but you persisted. And boy, that is the quickest 3 minutes I've ever had in my life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Musan,
I am bringing in Alexandra. Mayor, would it behoove you to extend the meeting to?
yeah, I was
11:15?
just going to say, yeah, can I have a motion to extend to 11:30?
Can you hear me?
Yes, please state your name for the record.
Alexander Soriano Taveras. And I'm actually calling on behalf of the TDMC and myself. And I want to express how grateful we are for Councilwoman Romney Rice for her service and her commitment to the residents of Teaneck, for being the voice of the people for so long and always championing democracy. We look forward to continuing our work with her, although she may not be sitting there on that dais. We know that she will definitely be around our town and continuing all of the work that she has done for our community. I also want to reiterate what I heard a few folks say tonight, and that is that it's really time that we recognize the work of Senator Weinberg in this town. I heard Darrell Green tonight speak about naming a street after someone that made an impact on his life and the Teaneck community as a youth. And Senator Loretta Weinberg has made an impact on our state and our country. So I hope that not only do we see her name on a street or on a park, but also Jervon Romney Rice's name. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
for the American Legion Drive in Beverly Road. If you're going to do this, please have a huge public session where you explain to the public why you're doing this and let the public explain why they are against it if they are against it. Councilperson Schwartz, it's not enough just to throw out some figures relating to these pilot programs without explaining to the public how you got them, what it's based on. You need to do that in a public forum at the high school where people can really understand what is going on with what we believe are these tax giveaways to developers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh. Okay. All right. Are we, okay, are we, is no one on there? All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sebastian Castillo. Nice to see you all this evening. Last meeting of the year. I'd like to say to all the outbound council members, thank you very much for your work on behalf of the town and on behalf of the council. I come to you as I have before in the past, discussing local cannabis, cannabis here in Teaneck. Cannabis businesses owned and operated by local residents with the micro business classification. And I just want to reiterate how I've been here working closely with the council, with its subcommittees in an effort to bring local small business cannabis into town. Now, there was another presentation that was here before. I would just like to bring up the fact that myself and two other companies run by local operators both presented in the past. And I feel like when we presented in the past, the night of our presentation, we were open for questions. And then it was the following meeting that a resolution of support was given, not the same exact meeting, let alone, with all due respect, with somebody so ill-prepared, answering just about no questions whatsoever. Like if that guy got support, then I guess many people can get support, because the three of us, myself and the other two businesses who are really local operators, we all tried so hard, and we all have been trying so hard to get some political will, political support for expanding the zoning of cannabis in town. I think it's, the writing's on the wall. I'm not the only one talking about bringing cannabis to Cedar Lane or to Queen Anne Road or another one of the town's existing business districts. When we went out to Alfred and tried to put a deal together, they were asking for a lot of money. We needed supposedly upward of $10 million in order to get in there. And we don't have $10 million or more. That was never part of our plan as a micro business to be able to get into business this way. The state of New Jersey has made a clear path for smaller operators who are locally based to open. And we are really hoping to get the Township of Teaneck to grant some new zoning that reflects the spirit of being able to have a micro business operate here in town. Again, Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you again for listening to this ongoing conversation with myself and the other local based operators who have been already given letters of support, and we all hold conditional licenses, and we hope to open here in Teaneck. And thanks again for your service to all the outgoing council members.
Thank you. Yes. Wasn't anybody on?
You're gonna have to open up a flower shop.
For sure, for sure. Good evening, Denise Belcher here. Yes, exactly. Service is the rent truly that we pay to live in Teaneck. I want to say to those that are departing, the councilman, thank you for your service. I want to specifically say to Councilwoman Javon Romney Rice, thank you for your service to Teaneck. We know and we have felt your love and passion for our community, folks in all parts of our community. From your very first Board of Ed campaign, the TRBCA creation, the Northeast Block Associations, the pandemic disparity issues with vaccinations, the Black women mortality crisis, voter registration drives. You've been there for all of them. You've been a true servant leader, and our town is 100% better for your dedication. Thanks for being authentic and steadfast in your word and in your deed. In the spirit of community collaboration, you have been an example, building partnerships and collaborations that has simply been your superpower. Clearly, we have big shoes to fill, and you have some pretty shoes. In the community, or to the community, I want to specifically say that you are engaged Teaneck residents. Know this, that I, along with Councilwoman-elect Danielle G. and Hillary Goldberg, we have your best interest of this town truly at heart. We have a lot of work to do when the baton is passed in January. However, we are committed to delivering a better Teaneck from smart development, more affordable housing, and a prosperous small business districts. Two things are critical and that we all agree, and that is listening to each other and respecting each other. So thank you for all of your service.
Alan?
Alan Stone, Teaneck resident. I had the privilege of standing just a few feet away talking with Javon before she took office and talking about her goals and objectives for the years ahead. I was serving on council when she was sworn in and had the privilege of working alongside her for most of my term in office and never got a watch. I was a witness when the public came to this council to express their opposition to the construction of a segregated housing project at the Haluba site. I heard members of council insist that it was impossible to mix affordable units into the townhouses. I heard a member of council dare residents to sue the township if they didn't like the fact that the township had violated the law by approving segregated housing. I could not have been any prouder to be a witness to the way that Javon stood up for what was right in the face of withering opposition from the rest of the council. She insisted that the township should fix a clear and blatant error. Despite being a minority of one, Javon's resolute stand served as an inspiration to members of the public who took the dare from the dais and filed suit against the township and won. Our legal action forced the developers to redesign the project. What is being built fully complies with the township's legal settlement. Despite being told that it was physically impossible, the affordable housing is being built side by side, wall to wall with the market rate units. The battle and the inspiration from Javon showed so many residents that you can fight City Hall and you can win. The next battle was to move elections from May to November, an action that was supported by Javon and opposed by the entire remainder of council. Again, residents fought through one town, one vote, and we won, passing the ballot referendum by an almost 2-to-1 margin. A year later, residents spoke with their ballots on November 8th and elected 3 newcomers. The sun is set on Teaneck today, but there is a new dawn rising on Teaneck tomorrow. On January 3rd, Javon will pass the torch to 3 new members who will take office and will be far better able to implement so many of the ideas that Javon put forward. And I sincerely hope that they will be able to change Teaneck with a far greater measure of respect than Javon ever received. Javon, you have distinguished yourself by your actions. A watch is just a token. You have paid your rent in full with your tireless service to the community, including an extra 6 months in office, plus 1 more hour than that. It is your legacy that is your enduring honor. Once your term ends, I hope that you will continue to be a beacon for doing what's right for Teaneck and serving as a mentor to the next generation of leaders. Thank you very much for your years of service.
Dr. Powers.
Chuck Powers, I will be brief. Because Javon, you have gotten what all of us know from all the communities in this town, what having a representative who fought for transparency, fought for policy, fought for an allegiance to the regulatory process rather than a way to evade it. That has been very important to the life of this town. I actually know what it is to run against you in an election. You may remember that you got the most votes, and I did very poorly by comparison. So, but we remained friends through that process. We remained confidants in terms of talking through what it is that makes the policy for this town right-headed. And we enormously appreciate what you've done. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask one quick question. I'm surprised that nowhere in the discussions of this council has appreciation for the retiring Chief O'Reilly been discussed. I don't understand why that happened. And I know that he only has 18 days left in his tenure here officially. He's actually had his walkout. I don't understand, because I think he has been an extraordinary leader of our police in a very difficult and complicated period. And I would also like to point out that you have two resolutions, 312 and 313, competing tonight for the same vacancy, except that neither of them were made in the context of what the law requires. If you take a look at Appendix 1, Rule 9 of the Rules of Procedure for this council, there must have been the clerk must have 14 days before any action of any sort was taken by this council announced the vacancy. The vacancy announced need not have been Chief Raymond's actual membership. It could have been the fourth alternate, which is, of course, the right way for you to build up leadership and give confidence to people to stick with it as they work their way up into actual membership. It makes no sense. It would be illegal for you to actually go ahead and vote for either of the two nominations tonight. And I hope that you will, in fact, remember that you have a very strong leader in the first alternate who would appropriately be, I hope, brought into the Board of Adjustment in the new council. Thank you very much.
No one else? Everybody else here has spoken. Okay, bring that one in.
Bringing in Dr. Ken Hoffman.
Am I okay?
Yes,
We
sir.
can hear you.
Whenever you're ready.
I just want everyone to know that I could never run for council because this is way past my bedtime. First and foremost, I want to thank Javon, Keith, and my best of friends, Jim, Mayor Dunleavy, Councilperson Javon, and Councilperson Keith for their hours, months, years of support for Teaneck. And with our three new council people coming in, we all are trying to make Teaneck a better place to live. It is a unique place. Our children, my children, I'm sure your children all talk about when they move away, how they wish where they live was like where we are. And I look forward to working with them in the next year. My one comment as PPRAB chair with the AED issue is that we have talked about this very often in the PPRAB with Superintendent Crockett and members of the administration, not only with Township Manager Kaczynski, but Township Manager Broughton and Township Manager Fall. And we are looking forward to working with them and figuring out how is the best way to have these essential product or instrument at our fields, because clearly sudden death can be prevented with arrhythmias with an AED. And there's a lot more to it than just having the machine on the wall. Thirdly, I'm not sure where this African-American, Asian, Hispanic, Caucasian issue with COVID is. As a state and regional COVID epidemiologist, it's the thing that is striking me about this is that Mayor Hamiduddin, Mayor Dunleavy, and Township Manager Kaczynski have never gotten the public recognition of how they interacted and prevented the COVID pandemic from essentially destroying or the Teaneck infrastructure, and by being so active in preventing the catastrophe of this disease in the elderly, particularly in the immunocompressed, we are really the way that it should be done. And I hope that everyone recognizes that COVID and the flu are now pandemic in the United States. And hello, Dr. Powers and Alan, and wearing one's masks is really, really, really important. So I want to wish everybody a happy holidays. I fully support Doug and Township Manager Kaczynski's increase in salary. And I wish everyone to have a wonderful, wonderful, safe and happy new year. And that's it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, would you like to extend the meeting to 11:30?
No, I did to 11:30. No, 11:30. All right, we good? Okay, then, all right, then I will close the public good and welfare for this evening. At this point, I will turn to council for comments. I'll start with, I'm going to start with Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Excellent, thank you very much. Just a few quick comments, but the people I wanted to make them to all left, so I'm going to assume they're watching on TV. Very quickly, to Gerald Green, thank you for bringing up the Freddie Green matter. I look forward to speaking with you in the committee about that in January, and moving forward with that if the committee and the council vote accordingly, though it does sound like it's a most deserving honor. Ron Schwartz and I had time to spend together on election day, and I indeed, thank him for reminding me of my promise that if indeed the numbers are there, I will absolutely say he did a great job, and one Teaneck did a good job getting out the vote. So I owe him that, but I hope he was watching on TV. Another comment he asked for as it relates to forums on AINR. We've had the privilege of speaking with the incoming councilwomen, and we look forward to quarterly forums. I believe our incoming councilwoman-elect Denise Belcher will be running one as it relates to AINR in Q3 is what I believe we spoke about. So I look forward to the town hearing all about that and coming out that night. Lastly, as it relates to cannabis and expansion on Cedar Lane, of course, that's something that several residents tonight have spoken about. And we've, Alfred Avenue is the initial set aside. We hope someone secures at least there. And we hope that the right destination for another spot on Cedar Lane at the appropriate location would be beneficial to the town, the merchants, the shoppers, the users, and the end users, and of course, everyone involved across the entire township. Thank you very much, everyone. Happy holidays. And we look forward to a happy, healthy season for everyone who's celebrating. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Over here, Councilmember Romney Rice.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. Many of you guys know that my aunt passed away recently, and her funeral actually is going to be this coming Saturday. And something that my aunt always said was, give me my flowers while I'm living so I can smell them. So I really, really appreciate tonight. I really, really appreciate all the accolades. And, I never did it for that, as you all know. Many countless nights, because when you leave here, then you sit and you're up and you're replaying in your mind what you could have said, what you should have said. So often challenging. So talk about a stipend and the fact that you still work and have to get up the next day to go to work. Wednesdays are always a challenge. But I really do just want to express, gratitude. I started trying to write names and I realized I better not mention names because I'll forget somebody. But I truly just wanted to say thank you to the mayor, council, staff, Doug, Tom, John, and of course I have to, most importantly, Dean, because you, like me, bleed blue. Us being Teaneck High School graduates and Teaneck raised through this community, I know how passionate you are and how hard you work for this township. And I hope that the new council will continue to take good care of him. I want to thank the residents who took the time to come out and show their appreciation tonight. Knowing so many residents, listening to you, your concerns, your passions for this community gave me the strength and courage to sit here for the past 6 years, plus 6 months, Alan, right? And making sure that I represented you, that I was your voice. And again, it was never about politics for me, but I've learned that you had to be in the room where it happened. So therefore, here I was. I want to say thank you, especially to my sorority sisters that were here, and Tara Edmonds, who, as well as Denise, who stated my favorite quote, which service is the rent you pay. We pay for being. It's the very purpose of life, not just something you do in your spare time. And I learned that most importantly by my parents. My father, who was referenced tonight, who was a really good friend of Freddie Green. So I'm certainly gonna miss not being able to approve that street naming. And I was asked tonight, was it gonna be bittersweet? And then initially I said nothing but sweetness and opportunity to redeem the countless hours that I've dedicated to this township and to travel. But there are a few bitter parts. The bitter parts are just the things that were still left to be undone, like ensuring that we have a more inclusive, transparent development process, where there's a task force of residents, businesses, Chamber of Commerce, along with planners, to really utilize the master plan, make any necessary changes, and design what we collectively want the future of Teaneck to look like. We are not a township in need of redevelopment. We are not a neglected urban area. Sure, ANIR has its place, but not in every area of development, aside from maybe 1 or 2 projects that we have plans for. I'll miss the bitter parts will be like ensuring that we have great leadership and representation on all our statutory and advisory boards. We have some really extraordinary community members who have great ideas and intentions, but just need vested leadership that seek the experience in the work of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. Thank you, Shanaz, for always mentioning that DEI. And I hope that the principles of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion will be guiding principles on the new council. And Mayor, I thank you for the resolution and leading us in our stance that hate has no home here. I would like to, the bitter parts are like not being here to ensure that a dedication to Loretta Weinberg for her dedicated service, putting all politics aside. And again, a street naming for Freddie Green, who was a dear friend of my dad, who I remember the gentleman talked about Pieces of a Dream was a drop-in center where you could go and get tutoring. And that was a time period when drugs were really rampant, and he did so much to support so many youth and community members. So it's long overdue for him to be commended. My service to this town is dedicated to how my parents raised me, and to know that all men and women were created equal. And my father used to have this saying, because he knew so many people. My aunt, who just passed away, was a class of 51 of Dwight Morrow High School. And my father was the class, I want to say, of 57 or 58. And we would walk down Palisade Avenue and he would just talk to everybody. Of course, he knew a lot of people, but I asked, do you know everyone? He says, no, but even dogs acknowledge each other. Even dogs will sniff each other. So that always resonated with me in the sense of service and speaking to people, regardless of what they look like or believe like, you or not, but that we were a community and residents, and to have passion and compassion for one another. So that is something that my father instilled in me, which is why I do what I do. But I know and have the confidence that those bitter spaces will be made sweet, because we have 3 new, intelligent, creative, awesome people that will be joining this council. And I have every confidence that they will lead the charge for the change that is needed in our community. And we were actually just a few votes shy of obtaining a transformative change that Teaneck really needs and deserves. But I have the confidence that Denise Belcher, Danielle G., and Hillary Goldberg will set the tone and the stage. And I look forward to them being in leadership positions and helping prepare the way for November 2024, when we hope to have a new council majority that is truly by the people and for the people. Thank you.
Councilmember Pagan.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I address some of the questions and comments made by our residents tonight, I'd like to start off by wishing everyone a happy holiday season and wish you all a very happy new year, because the next time we will be seeing each other will be at the reorganization meeting on January 3rd at the Richard Rhoda Community Center, when we swear in a new mayor and our new council members. So happy holidays, everyone. It is very sad to see Bischoff's close shop, because my family has been going there since 1986 and we are going to miss it. But that is why it is so important that we continue to do our best to find more ways to help our local businesses succeed and stay open. And one of the things we can consider doing is partnering more with the county, the state, and the federal government to create more public-private partnerships that will help provide access to capital and provide more operational funds to small and mid-sized businesses in our downtown business districts, kind of like what the New Jersey Economic Development Authority does statewide, but right here in Teaneck. When it comes to cannabis, I still support expanding the zone for recreational use, so long as it is done responsibly and safely. But also, please note that the entire town is already zoned for medical use if a company were willing to come to Teaneck to pursue that route. And Mr. Yuck, thank you again for meeting with me earlier in the week to discuss this and other topics like development. As for naming a street after Lieutenant Freddie Green, I absolutely support that. So thank you, Daryl, for recommending that. And let's make it happen this upcoming spring. As for my neighbor and friend, Celine Lewis Wong, I support the Reading in the Park initiative you are suggesting, and will follow up with our manager and report back to you as soon as possible. And lastly, because I know it is getting late, I'd like to take this opportunity once more to thank Mayor Jim Dunleavy, Councilwoman Jervon Romney Rice, and Councilman Keith Kaplan for their many years of service, because this is our last council meeting together. And I want to thank all three of you for your wisdom, for your dedication, and for your leadership. You have each made an incredible difference in our hometown, and I have learned so very much from all three of you, and will miss working with you. But please know that I am just a quick phone call away, and that I am always happy to help you any way that I can going forward. So thank you for the years of hard work and dedication that you have put into this. And thank you for everything that you have done for Teaneck. We appreciate you and we love you. And that is my time, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we move on, can I have a motion to extend the meeting to 11:45? Okay. Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to acknowledge with deep gratitude the opportunity that the people that elected me to this chair afforded me to represent them in the town where I live. My process, no matter what issue came before me, was always to break things down to parts we can tackle, to seek paths that have been tried, especially if they failed, so we could afford avoiding those avenues, and build on every item I learned so residents could get the benefit of experience every day on the job. My hope for the incoming council members is that they learn, they listen, because there's a fire hose of information that could be a bit much, especially at first. But the volume of work that you get to do here can have an awesome impact on the place where you live. My grandparents came here with very little, escaping Nazi Germany. And one of the things they saved up for was a full portrait of the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. They hung it in their home. They believe that the gifts of this country far outweighed any issues or problems that they had. There's a lot of promise in this country, and there's a lot that ties us together. There's a lot that binds us, far more than divides us. Sometimes we merely need to reach out and see those things in various people. I want to thank Councilwoman Rice for being there when I had issues, questions, and various comments throughout my tenure on council. Whether we agreed or didn't, your guide has always been whether it's good for Teaneck, and it's certainly been appreciated. I want to thank the mayor. I mean, I know it's quite impossible to state everything you've done for this municipality, especially within context of a few minutes. 4 years ago, I worked with Mayor Dunleavy. I asked if he wanted to run for council with me, and you've supported me and been absolutely phenomenal throughout the tenure. When we were sworn in, we couldn't be sure if laws were still in effect. Some were clearly unconstitutional. The idea a resident could file a permit electronically. They didn't have to take a day off of work. They didn't have to come in with a check, deal with people face to face. It wasn't even on the horizon. Today, all of that is something that the incoming council members can take for granted, that new residents can take for granted. It's their status quo. Tomorrow, it merely needs maintaining, and I'm hoping to see the new council build on those foundations that we worked on. I've been privileged to be able to speak with historical figures. Our first manager was Paul Volcker. I got to speak with his son, and he gave us a trove of information from his father's records that the library is able to display. I've been able to work with our Historic Preservation Commission, our Patriotic Observance Advisory Board, various groups that really take a light and shine about what this town has been about. I've made friends and others here in and out of public life, and it's impossible to single everyone out for the praise that you deserve and the people that have come across my path. But one thing that I'd be remiss without saying, because I do mention history a bit, is in 1930, we broke away from rank partisanship. It nearly bankrupted us. And we decided to put our faith in the notion that people can get a manager that will ultimately find success for the town, that the council can support, and he can run the place. Pre-COVID, I could speak for hours about Dean Kaczynski, about his unflagging dedication, not to mention a phenomenal resource for work that he's done in the township. Post-COVID, I'm not sure how he stays on the job. Just the power outage on Cedar Lane the other week would have been enough to do me in. Doug, our clerk, I'm sure he got calls prior to my tenure on council working here, but I don't think he could have been seeing how much I would call upon him. And he was always there to give me the resources and the information I needed to be able to make the solid decisions for our residents. Whether it's our deputy manager, Mr. Rowe, who is one of the finest public servants that I've come across, our legal counsel, the people that work throughout this town, and I can't name all of them. It's been an absolute pleasure to see how the sausage was made, but the public should know how much goes into every single decision. The ground does not show blacktop merely because somebody said, go out and get rid of the snow. I wish you the absolute best as the new council members grow in your positions. And I will, of course, be around. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm sure my kids will be very happy to see me at home. And Mr. Mayor, if you have a beer I like, I'd love to watch the next meeting with you and we could critique on our own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Well, I'm thinking about a lyric in a song from the 60s. Probably, Doug, you don't know it. What a long, strange trip it's been. Those of you who know.
1973, American Beauty.
No, it wasn't in a movie first.
American Beauty was the Grateful Dead album, 1973.
Thank you very much.
Also a Kevin Spacey movie.
Okay, I'm so happy I brought that up. Yeah. Anyway, I've been humbled and honored to be elected to serve on our township council for the past 4.5 years, and the last 2.5 as the 36th mayor of Teaneck. The township has grown in strengths getting through tropical storms, blizzards, a pandemic, and I think that was my first year. I feel though, we and the township are stronger for the journey. I wish my council colleagues well. I can't tell you how much your friendship, your honesty, and your openness meant to me. I will always remember you for that, and I consider all of you friends. And a congratulations and best of luck to those of you who will be taking the seats up here for the first time in a few weeks. I think you've seen, and I know you've had meetings with those council members who are going to continue with you. I think one of the things I will emphasize, I think somebody mentioned it earlier, the learning curve when you get into these positions is basically straight up. So take heed and learn and listen, and you'll be better for it. I also want to thank Councilmember Keith Kaplan, my running mate, for his focus on detail. He made me think in different ways on just about every topic. And although I'm very interested in history, at times not that much in history, but you know what? I have gotten a great friend from this journey, and someone who I know I would love to have an adult beverage while we watch the rest of this together. I also want to thank Councilmember Javon Romney Rice. My greatest remembrances of the work that we did together was when I called you and I said, you know what, we need to set up a panel discussion for the African-American community regarding COVID to get these people signed up. And so you helped me get those people together, and we got that panel going. And also thank you, Michael, who helped with the Hispanic panel that we did. And I was very proud of that work, very proud of what we did during the pandemic. And you were very helpful in getting that done. And so I thank you. I thank you both. And there are people alive today who I think knows that what we did. A big thank you to our legal counsel, John Shadanian, whose legal counsel expertise, phone calls in the car, from the bathroom, from the kitchen, has been invaluable to me and the council. The only thing that I failed is to get him off this undying love for the Dallas Cowboys. To Tom Rowe, our deputy manager, thank you. You're one of the new guys on the block, but boy, you always went the extra mile for every resident in need that I called you upon. So thank you so much. Thank you. To Doug, our clerk, and his staff, you've kept us on track, and you got the minutes done faster than any town in the state of New Jersey. And has also been a great source of information and ideas, and to keep me on track from a parliamentary standpoint. I thank you. And to our manager, Dean Kaczynski, I have said it was probably the best vote that I cast when I voted for his hire. I cannot tell you how much this man bleeds Teaneck blue. Between his service to Teaneck, plus his mom, who was a teacher, and his dad, a police officer, I think, Dean, you told me your family has close to 88 decades of continuous service to this town. It is so important for a mayor to have a trusted partner in the manager's office. And I can tell you, talking with other mayors who did not have that, their life was agony. My life was not agony by any stretch of the imagination. I feel like I had a partner in what we were trying to do. And I've been truly blessed to have him here. I also thank the rest of the township staff. They're selfless, dedicated people striving to keep Teaneck safe, clean, and running smoothly. Thank you all. And I also want to thank the people of Teaneck who gave me this opportunity to serve. While you may not have agreed with me on everything I've said or how I voted, I want you to know that I never forgot that we sit here in service to you. And I can honestly say that that was always first and foremost in my mind. And finally, to my wife, Mary, and our daughters, Megan and Tara, you can't undertake this type of service without family support. And I have been very, very lucky in that regard. Thank you, guys. I love you very much. I want to end with a little thing from a speech I did at Thanksgiving at the Interfaith, having to do with a stained glass window. And I made it was kind of a metaphor, I think, for the town, that we sometimes focus in on all the stained glass parts, different sizes, different shapes, different colors, different communities in our town. But what we should focus more on, because we accept all of those pieces of stained glass, is we should be focusing on the lead that's in between the panes. We have to focus on the things that bring us together, things that bind us together, things we have in common, and the curiosity of things that we don't have in common, because those make us richer, those make us stronger. I've always said that Teanac's greatest strength is its diversity, and that's what I'm talking about. We have to focus on that lead in between the stained glass parts. So I wish all of you a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and the healthiest of New Year's to you all. I thank you very, very much. All right, moving on, to consent agenda.
Do you think we could do it in 5 minutes?
Yep.
All right, so we have this evening. Consent agenda still, which is going to be considering a raffle license, 2 sets of minutes, resolutions 296 to 318-2022. That's including the 2 walk-in resolutions, 317, 318. This is not including resolutions 312 and 313 that are outside of the consent agenda. And this is also including the bill list in the amount of $8,433,283.51. Is there a first on the consent agenda?
I have moved the consent agenda.
Any discussion? Let's call the roll.
Councilwoman Rami Rice.
Yes, on all.
Councilman Began.
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ, sorry. Councilman Kaplan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz. Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes.
Adopted.
Thank you. We've had a discussion regarding the resolutions outside the consent agenda, item D. And it is our feeling that these 2 resolutions should be moved forward to the incoming full council so that they can review this and do with it as they wish. So we are not going to be entering any votes on 312 or 313 this evening.
I'll make a motion to table 312 and 313.
Do you have a
To
specific-
not to the reorg, the one after that.
Correct.
January 10th,
Got
I
it.
think it is.
On or about.
I'll double
Okay.
check. Yeah, honor.
Okay.
No.
Is there a
And that
motion?
was-
I'll make a motion to adjourn if that's in order right now.
Second.
Second.
With 3 minutes to spare.
There we go. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, council members, Dunleavy, Romney Rice, Kaplan. Happy holidays, Teaneck family and friends. Get home safe.